Next on the agenda is the select board reorganization. And what we have to do is we choose a chair for the next year. And then who will serve as chair is not available, which typically we might be, immediate past year. We need to set the time and place of the meetings, the rules for public speaking. And then, there are things that we need to do ourselves at the time for the code of ethics and the open meeting law training from the Secretary of State.
We need motions around that or just an agreement?
We need to, I will make a motion to appoint Eric Johnson as chair for the upcoming year, on the next town meeting.
Okay, a second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 And now you can take over the rest of it then.
Awesome. Okay.
So do we need motions to
Yes, well,
say 6:30 on
Yes.
Thursdays and like?
Yeah, just put it all together in one thing. We plan on meeting on, this is the date, the
So I'd make a motion, make a motion that we continue to meet on Thursdays at 6:30 PM on the first and third Thursdays of the month.
Sure. Any other changes that you guys had in mind, for? Well, we can,
But
let's,
it's all the rules and procedure have to be established.
we'll do it as one big one, is what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
So then let's, before we get to that
Okay,
one, let's,
great.
And so in the past, because immediate past chair, there wasn't one. Now we can set up the immediate, typically we use the immediate past chair in,
oh yeah, you're gonna be the backup.
It'd be the backup.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
and then you already set the time and place, and then you've got the rules for public speaking.
Yeah, I came up with my own.
Oh, good.
So regarding that, last year we made this change in order to keep meetings efficient and fast, so that we could get more agenda items in. We restricted public comment on most of the agendas and had only public comment be in the beginning. I think that went really well. And I have a couple ideas of what I want to tweak there just a little bit. And actually, it's not even really much of a tweak. It's just more of a tweak in what we say. But what did you guys think about that? Did that work? Did you any other?
I thought it helped.
I think it helped, yeah, and I also think that, having, keeping the initial public to be heard, it worked for, stuff not on the agenda. And then we, towards the end of the meeting, or however the chair choice, whether you had how much public comment. I mean, is that where you're going to tweak that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that is a very small tweak. I think because, for the most part, we're not asking for public comment in, during the actual agenda items. I think we changed public to be heard to anything.
Right.
Any topic on or off the agenda.
That's
If
right.
you're like, hey,
But we
your
started,
agenda item number 3, I'm really concerned about blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'd like to do, starting with the next agenda, that I was thinking, if you guys are okay with it, I would like to somehow delineate because there are some times where we're gonna want public comment
That's what
that we want.
Right.
For example, today, there's one about the Raceway Road
Right.
thing, and I'm guessing that's why a lot of folks are here. I think that's a really good one to have public
oh, absolutely.
opinion on.
Yeah.
Like beforehand or during the conversation?
During the actual
Right,
conversation.
that's why it's like,
So-
if the chair determines the input is needed during another portion of the meeting.
Yeah, and so what I was thinking is to maybe let people sort of know, we could find a way to denote that in like
In the agenda?
agenda, so like people looking at the agenda, oh, hey, this one is a yes, this one's a no. Not that we can't change it
Right.
as things come up, but I just thought that might be a little bit more helpful.
Yeah, that's why I try to read that most of the time,
I think it might be confusing to put it on the actual agenda to denote certain things, because we may approve reappointments of members of committees, boards whose term expire. Someone may say, someone may let us know, petition show up and say, hey, I wanted to make a point about that you guys should really consider having 4 members on this or whatever. But it hasn't been by previously denoting it as we'll take public comment during the conversation on these 3 things, but not on these 4 things.
Right, so for example, tonight, a bunch of people might be like, well, should I talk now or am I going to be allowed to talk
That's true.
during the raceway
That's- yeah, that's
discussion?
true.
So I think it's a really, I think somehow we have to say, and maybe I just say it with, when I do the reading, I say, hey, tonight we're gonna be allowing it on this.
Right.
Other than that, go ahead and speak
I
now,
think
kind of thing.
that's what I think is.
Okay,
That sounds good.
so we can do that. So I'll have to tweak it a
So
little
on the
bit
fly
every
each
time.
meeting, you'll say, public comment, you'll read out whatever you got written and here are the topics that will be taking public comment during the meeting.
Yep. And so to do that, I
So
just
that's
need
all part of
to,
your motion.
well,
We'll just,
we can,
Eric's language, I'll put,
yeah, any other thoughts or comments? Because this is the time to change it. We kind of try to set these rules for the year and
Yeah.
then they're good.
But yeah, these are things that we.
And one other thing that I was thinking about, I'm not sure if this is the category for it, was the idea that there be sort of in the agenda, sort of a running list of old business to cue the town administrator to come back around to, like, for example, like wastewater. I feel like wastewater should be like an old business thing that Paul just says like, oh, hey, in the last 2 weeks, nothing's really happened, or the last 2 weeks we did this, so that it's built in. I mean, the two ways to do that, to my mind, are it's on the agenda as just an old business updates, and we put in there what we want to update on. Or what I've been doing, which I don't like, is that I ask Paula, like in the meeting, like, oh, hey, what's up with wastewater? And I feel like I'm putting her on the spot and she didn't have any prep that was coming. So having old business things on there to cue.
I mean, theoretically, that's what updates are about, but you know, a lot of meetings also split that, things like that out, and you have old business and then new business.
Right.
Or
So-
updates.
I like that, but I want to add this other idea that I had, and I don't know if this is an after the motion kind of thing, but this is, so here's what I'd like. I would like the two of you,
To call you what?
all three of us,
To
yeah.
refer to me
I
as.
had, yeah, I have asked Paula to order me a higher chair. So for the next meeting, here's what I'd like. I'd like all three of us to come in with our priority list of things that are important. And then what I want to do from the next meeting, we talk about, we talk through, right? Hopefully we have a lot of overlap. Maybe we don't have any, and we've got to figure out as a group, what's our priority. And then using that list, I want to use that to populate our agendas. Because what happens now is the town's running, all sorts of stuff is going on.
All kinds of stuff.
And our agendas fill in from that, and they're busy and it's all important stuff. And so what happens is things like wastewater or things that like are all part of our goals, they're extremely important, but not extremely urgent. And so we end up filling our schedules with the urgent, and I'm not calling anything unimportant, but you know what I mean? They're not as critical, like down the road kind of thing. So what I want to do is use that priority list to inform our meetings, and let the other stuff kind of fill in around that. If you guys are open to it.
I am
Sure.
enthusiastic about it, and that's a great idea.
Okay, cool. That's your homework for
Yep.
next meeting.
Love it.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to, restate my motion to, continue our meeting times at 6:30 on the first and third Thursdays of the month and adopt Eric's, new language about, how public to be heard will be handled both before the meeting and within the meeting. And I guess the priority list, I think is that's just work for us to do.
That's work.
Not part of the motion.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Awesome.
Awesome.
That's a great idea. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I've been.
Yeah, I know
for a little
Paul
bit.
is working on a major chart for us to go over and talk about priorities.
So with that, there's one line I wanted to add. Let's get, if you can just be patient.
Talk amongst yourself.
Yeah, there's a certain language that's used by VLCT that I wish had at the tip of my tongue. Might really do that moment now. Yes.
I'll tell you all, we're waiting for Erica. Today, one of my students told me that, said, hey, Mr. Booth, you know, if you own chickens, you are a chicken tender.
Oh.
Thank you very much. Well, we'd love to hear all of
You can rent them out.
Well, I can't find the exact quote that I'm looking for, so I'll get it down a little bit. So in order to make our meetings more efficient, we are limiting public comment at the beginning of the meeting, which is called the public to be heard section. Select board meetings are in the public, not of the public. That's the part where there's a different verb there or something.
For, not for the public. They're in the public, not for the public.
Yeah,
Whatever, you can find it.
but yeah. There are occasionally agenda items where we will ask for public comment. For example, tonight, the raceway discussion this evening. So for public to be heard, you have 3 minutes and please try to be civil.
Perfect.
Any public to be heard. Jim.
I know you guys have been struggling, as is the town, and apparently most of the world, about housing. This is a 32-page toolkit from an organization that I belong to called Strong Towns, and it has 8 recommendations as to what a town can do to make their town housing ready. And unfortunately, I didn't get back to the photocopier. So I'm going to give this copy, but I'll just read this one paragraph to you, which is fast. By taking the steps in this toolkit, your city can position itself as a leader in tackling the housing crisis. You will set your community up to attract and retain the talent, entrepreneurs, and investment that will build prosperity. You can lead your city out of the housing trap. And I will email the link to you. And I apologize for not having paper for everybody, but you've got the Affordable Housing Committee flopping around. You got the Planning Commission measuring front yards and side yards. I think this could offer you the opportunity to really make some inroads in my lifetime, which is getting shorter and shorter. And I think it's a great piece.
Thank you, Jim. Other public to be heard? Get all the people on Zoom.
Vince Magno Raceway Road. So the pedestrian bike pathway trial that they want to do, not really in favor of it at this point because the condition of the road is so bad. I can't see how it would be effective. I mean,
So for this one, do we want to, that is our first agenda item. So would you mind just holding off just for 1 second? We'll
Okay.
see if there's other non-raceway road related stuff, and then I'll let you speak first on that. Is that all right?
Mhm.
Sabina Ernst. I'm just here from the Conservation Commission. Sorry, I couldn't get on the agenda, so I'm sneaking in the back door here. So I don't know if you recall, but at the end of last year, I asked for permission to apply for a grant to get free tree money for the town. And the good news is we got the money. So we got $20,000 to plant trees, 30 trees. And the reason I'm here is because of a little bit of a shuffling of the funds that was allocated from the grant. We came up a tiny bit short in terms of what I was hoping to purchase in terms of irrigation supplies, like those bags that help the trees. And so it's about $1,200 short. And so I was coming to ask to see if you guys would support the Conservation Commission in trying to bridge the gap, knowing that we will do our part to sort of minimize that gap as much as we can and look for alternate funding and be frugal. But I think we might need a little bit of help. So just coming to see if that sounds feasible.
Yeah, so because it wasn't on the agenda, I don't really feel comfortable saying yes or no, but I can say that we heard it and we can
Okay.
certainly get you on the next agenda.
Can I ask a question?
Is that okay? Or is that gonna be too late?
Well, I don't know. I can let them know that I think it's gonna be fine and that we can move on with the grant. So CCRCP has to do the grant agreement.
Mhm.
And so they're just kind of waiting for me to get all my ducks in a row. And so I would like to get back to them as soon as possible, but if I say I need another week or two, I think they would be okay with that.
I think
So,
they will.
yeah. So, Yeah, so that's fine with me if that works for you.
Ask a question.
Yeah.
Can you just, so you got a grant for $20,000, and
Mhm.
can you just explain the 1,200 that you're short? Like, what are you short of what?
Well, so one of the sites dropped out from my original
Your
proposal.
plan? Yeah,
And so they took money off, but they just took like a clean cut. They didn't really actually subtract the money
change in cost.
in the way of the cost that I calculated it out. So it was just like a clean break. And so it means that I had allocated money for supplies. That was one of the budget
Yeah.
line items. And so it just, for whatever reason, I could take away a tree from somebody, but I don't want to do that. So that's why I'm asking for that.
great, thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
thanks.
Other non-raceway related public to be heard.
My name's Phil Danielson. It's more of a question about the agenda, I guess. I'm here because I'm interested in the JCDC discussion, possible approval of fundable permitting. I wonder what that is. It's just, my sense is it has something to do with the Railroad Circle property.
Yeah, I can answer that really quickly. So I'm pretending for a second, Eric from the JCDC is looking to ask the select board that I'm also on to approve utilizing funds to go about starting the permitting for 2 Railroad Circle.
What is the permit? Is this permitting to put in septic fields and permitting to change zoning? What are you?
Permitting to see what we can build there.
Okay, so it's more like figure out what can be done. You're not looking to change any zoning or anything like that at this point.
No zoning change, but we're looking to figure out how we, the JCDC, the select board may not agree. They're looking for what we can do to utilize that property to advance our.
And how
Before
much
what?
money are you looking for to do that?
Joe has that information that
So
he'll cover. So
that's-
yeah, that'll be part of
Okay,
his
thank you.
presentation. So yeah, I've asked Joe Flynn to come and present that because it's weird for me to do it as sitting on both
Thank you.
boards. Yep. Great question. Last chance public to be heard, non-raceway related. Okay. So I think the way to do this, Jack, do you want to come up and we'll have him talk through what he's looking to do, and then we can we can hear from the public on how they feel about it.
Yeah, I could make just one alteration. Cody, who's on the chair of the committee,
Oh, is he?
I think would make it better.
I'm terrible with names. I didn't think your name was Jack, but I'm like reading it off my sheet, so
I am Jack.
you're Jack. Okay, we can do it together. Come on up.
My name's Cody Phillips. I'm the chair of the Jericho Bicycle and Pedestrian Connectivity Committee. For those who are not aware, the main mission of our committee is to improve and maintain connectivity within the Jericho community, meaning trails in the town forest, bike pedestrian paths like we have along just past the high school on the way to town center. And to advise the town on ways that we could potentially better connect our community with non-automobile means of transportation. So with that introduction in mind, we're here to request approval to apply for a grant. Jack can explain more of the grant and what obligations there are and aren't. But the main goal is to run a demonstration project to not to say, hey, look, doesn't this work great? Let's do it. But to research how it affects the road, how it changes the way people use the road. Does it improve, increase people's decision to follow the speed limit? Does it make people feel less safe, more safe? All of these things. So we've sent out a community survey to gather feedback from before. We're hoping to then gather feedback from after, so that we can advise the town on if we think our idea is feasible, not feasible, popular, not popular. So we're by no means saying we're going to do anything. We're not changing the road. We're not touching anyone's property. We're simply looking at how infrastructure could look in Jericho if Jericho were to have some bike lanes or pedestrian paths or separate gravel paths, right? Nothing's decided. So half the point of this is to, identify what might and might not work. So I'll let Jack explain a little more about the project and then about the grant. And we'll go from there.
Yeah, so the project is going to include between Route 15, Jericho Market, and Willows Lane, or Willow Lane. About 4-foot wide pedestrian pathway delineated with 18-pound rubber-based reflective bollards. These are quick build infrastructure, and they are items that help to separate the path, but can still be navigated between. We're looking currently at a spacing of 25 to 50 feet, depending on the driveway clearance, along whichever side of the road we decide to pursue. That leaves between 17 and 19 feet on the road, depending where on the road we're talking about for vehicle travel to occur. We've spoken with Paula, the town administrator, and we've also spoken with the highway department. The highway department's main concern with this design was the narrowness of those two travel lanes, which is why we've decided to go with a 25 to 50 foot spacing between each of the bollards. Cars, most sedans and hatchbacks are 5.5 to 6 feet wide. Trucks get up to 7 feet.
Trucks meaning like Ford F-150,
Yeah.
like not commercial trucks, but
Yeah, and then commercial trucks tend to go up to 8.5 feet. So Vermont has, on roads that they specifically own, a recommended minimum of 9 feet. We would be skirting that minimum on a town-owned road. And we would also be providing space, as we discussed with the highway department, for when two cars are coming towards each other and they are worried about conflict, they don't want to shy, or they would like to shy away from the shoulder. They are able to take space in the pedestrian lane, ample room between the posts for that. But the overall goal of those posts is to direct traffic, when feasible, away from a space that could be dedicated to pedestrians. Our goals with this project is mostly to improve safety for people who walk along Raceway, and improve accessibility to the amenities just off of that intersection around Route 15. You have the market, a middle school, a library, post office, banks. I don't need to really tell you what's in your town. We've spoken with a number of residents, a number of organizations in the area, namely the Jerry Hill Independent Living Facility, who has a pedestrian path connecting from their facility, and right now ends in a pad device between Raceway Road and that paved portion. You can see that right above the GNP plumbing and heating little pin on the map. They are highly concerned about safety and accessibility for their residents. We've spoken about how, as an independent living facility, they are really limited in promoting independence. If their residents actually can't or do not feel safe walking the 3rd mile to the market down the road, a path like this would give people who live there and every resident of Raceway space to walk that is protected from people who are on the road and often, or at times, speeding. The grant that we are pursuing is the AARP Community Challenge Grant under the demonstration category. We're asking from them $3,500 to purchase 100 of these bollards. Probably 75 are gonna be on the road at any given time, 25 in reserve for if damage occurs to any of them. These bollards, right now, we're aiming to have up late July for a month, 3 months, depends on community feedback. Which we will be collecting again through another survey.
I have a quick question, sorry, just for myself. Is that a bollard?
That is a bollard.
I'm not, I thought it was a New Jersey barrier, so just in case people don't know what it is, that's what a bollard is.
I had to Google it when I was reading our
Yeah,
packet. I'm like,
yeah.
never heard the word bollard before.
You hear it a lot in my line of work.
I bet.
Really make its way out. So yeah, the ultimate goal of this is not to have this be the infrastructure on the road. We've heard in private conversation tonight from the community that not only do people not want these to be the long-term solution, they're also just not comfortable with the width of the road that leaves.
Mhm.
That being said, I don't think that Jericho can make true on its commitment to improving connectivity for pedestrian and bicycling between the two town centers without addressing Raceway Road, which has been chosen as the preferred alternative for a bike and pedestrian corridor between the two places.
I will say that the Raceway Road was just part of the preferred alternative because it was there, but the focus was to be on Griswold to Packard to start with, because that is a lot more traffic that way. And then we were going to see what would happen at Raceway as the other section got fixed, because something might happen over in the personal district, who knows, shift things around.
And that's a little background on how this project came up. Peter came to us and said, hey, we're gonna have this connection that gets you to Raceway. We don't have any true infrastructure that makes it safe for people to get along Raceway to the town center. And he said, why don't you guys start working now and come up with some ideas, because we are an advisory committee. We have no authority to do anything without the town's permission, but to come up with some ideas that we could propose and present, study that we could then advise the town to say, hey, this might be a great idea should the town want to pursue it. And so that's a little background on how this came about. And it's better to have an idea and advise on it a year early than to wait till the other infrastructure is done and start the process that takes 5, 10, 15 years to get completed. So we'd love to turn our homework in early, per se.
And there is a real benefit to, if we're looking at Raceway Road in full, there's a huge benefit. But just looking at this 1/3 mile section, you're connecting somewhat for, the rural characteristics of the road, dense neighborhood, to a very dense structure of amenities. You're talking not just about a market and like a library, but also kids being able to walk to school. We've had comments on the public survey saying that if there was a dedicated pathway along Raceway, parents would feel more comfortable allowing their kids, encouraging their kids to walk. But right now, they don't feel that way because of speeding on the road or just the lack of dedicated space. So there's the connectivity overall that's important, but then there's also for this neighborhood and these amenities kind of a short-term benefit. So, we are seeking approval to apply for this ARP grant, which would help fund these bollards.
And I'll add the bollards would then be owned by the town and could be used by the highway department for anything they need them for in the future, the road construction, whatever. It's, these aren't going to go to waste and they don't go to locomotion. They're property of the town.
How does local motion play into it? Did I miss that in the beginning? Or is it them that would grant are they the grant?
No, so local motion is, we kind of have this weird role in Vermont where we get money from, in grant form from CCRPC, and then also the state micromobility transportation initiative grant. we use that money to help walk bike groups, municipalities, individual business owners find ways to improve walking and biking infrastructure, programming, education. We'll advise a community on where to place bike racks, and we'll advise a community on how to align bike lanes to maximize their connectivity within the town. So we serve as like a technical resource to.
Are you from local motion?
Yeah, I'm from local.
Oh, gosh, okay, now I'm with you. All right, sorry.
Now,
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, we're just.
You kept saying we, I'm like, okay, waiting for him to get to local motion. All right, I'm sorry.
The committee I'm a part of has asked for Jack's help because I have a full-time job, as everyone else does. We're not necessarily experts in the space, and without Jack's help, I think all we'd have time for is a little bit of trail work, a couple times a year, and that's it. And
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm with
the
you.
town, from what I
Totally on
understand,
board.
has a big ask from the residents to find ways to improve travel around town while not in an automobile. And so we are doing our best with our limited volunteer resources to tap into Jack's expertise and try and find some creative ways that we can improve the town for everyone.
Sorry, I'm so slow sometimes.
I
I
had,
thought you were both on.
He does have a name tag.
yeah, because I mean, it has the locomotion.
Yeah, I can't see that far. Okay, I see the jack.
Like originally meant to replace those stick-on ones,
Yeah.
which you can read from 30 feet away.
Yeah.
It's way less effective.
You want questions from us, Eric, or from the public? Anyone?
Why don't we have the select board ask our questions and then we'll open up to the public to see what questions they might have.
Okay. And do you want questions about the grant or about the project? Or both or whatever?
I think both. I think what we're asked, our specific ask for this evening is to approve or reject the approval for a grant. But I think, given the audience, that there's a lot of, I think both,
Concern.
I think both are appropriate.
If I can jump in for people who might not be speaking tonight, we do have a public meeting about this project on March 22nd at the Deborah Rawson Memorial Library.
Oh, cool.
Saturday, the 22nd, 1 p.m. It's going to serve as a public forum for people to make comment. It's going to have interactive sort of like posters to leave notes and kind of understand the project visually in that way.
Okay, cool.
Is there something I had March 10th on my calendar? Is that your
March
meeting?
10th is our next meeting where we'll have a 30-minute block open for public comment, but because of that limited time slot, it's not going to be a discussion space. It's,
It's gonna be-
thank you for your comment.
Yeah.
We're moving on. The 20th will be really the forum for discussion where the town can educate the committee can educate the town, and we can all learn a lot more about the project and the end goals and everything in between.
So my first question, which is grant related, is if the town applies for the grant and gets the grant, and then people have our heads on a pike because they're so angry about it, can we just say, thanks for the grant, we're gonna pass?
To be able to accept the grant money, I think the town would need to implement the demonstration project.
No, not to accept, no, can we say, thank you for the money, we're gonna give it back, we're not gonna take your money, we decide we don't wanna do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Then I have some logistical questions, which I just kind of jotted them down. Can the fire department get through if there's a fire on Raceway? Will they be able to get through if there's cars coming on towards them? Will kids steal them? If they're only 18 pounds, are kids gonna swipe them? And then the road crew, what happens when the road crew wants to grade the road? How does that get navigated? And then I was gonna ask about 3 months was needed, but it sounds like you're thinking, put them up and for a few weeks and a month, and then if it's disaster, take them down. If it's been sort of just read the room throughout the period of time and just see how it plays out.
Yeah.
So it's not a hard 3 months, it's just see how it goes.
No more than 3 months.
Yeah. So we would like to last longer than 2 weeks because 2 weeks allow people to use the road get adjusted to it and then fill out a survey while still using the road. Any sooner than that, and most of the responses are going to be kind of knee jerk, and it's just change, and they haven't like experienced the change. And they might not even have gotten a chance to like go out and use the infrastructure yet. For the emergency vehicles, you know, these are plastic. A car could drive over them. An emergency vehicle absolutely could without damaging their front fender. So if necessary, an emergency vehicle could absolutely use the road as it is being used right now. It is still feasible that, you know, for the 1/3 mile that exists for this demonstration project, cars would simply be able to get out of the way.
It sounds like that if there's 50 feet between them, that if I'm
You
heading,
can pull into the lane.
You can pull.
if I just pull into the walking, the pedestrian lane and let the fire trucks through.
Yeah. In terms of theft,
You work with kids.
yeah,
That's why I asked the
if
question.
you can give us, I imagine that there's not going to be so much theft that with the 33% extra
Mhm.
cones that we have, we wouldn't be able to replenish them. Because as much as kids might love to steal, they only have so much room to place
To
the
put
things
their
that they
stuff.
do steal. And for road crews, we've spoken with the highway crew, and they're going to work with us to grade before we put the bollards in. And we've already spoken to them about like an emergency plan of, they call us up and they say, hey, we need to grade the road tomorrow. We have a contingency for volunteers from the committee to come out, probably me and also come out and just help with these things. So the road crews are informed and they will help inform us as it goes on. Timeline, like I said, more than 2 weeks. There was also discussion with the Browns River Middle School to do a walk to school event using these. And I think that aligning that with the National Walk to School Day would help with kind of adoption of that program or of that event. So we would like to make it to that.
Did they already do that? Does Browns River already do walk to school?
So they
have in the past.
They have in the past. What I've heard, there hasn't been enough public support to do it. And we think that, especially with the committee helping to initiate that and guide that event, this year something could happen. And I don't know, with that infrastructure change, children and families could see that maybe it isn't so bad to walk on this road if there is infrastructure for it.
Do you know the date of that?
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, I believe that is October 9th.
Those are my questions.
Yeah, well, very similar questions. But I had the road foreman sent email today, and he clearly is concerned about anything more than a month, because initially he thought it was 2 weeks to a month, because of the issue with grading and everything, and being able to, you know, he's got a lot of questions with, you know, getting contact, because he can't take the time to move the bollards to pave the road, because there's so much road work to be done.
Yeah.
Over the summer, and plus, still working on FEMA stuff from last year. So, yeah, 3 months would be too long, but, you know, so if you did it through October 9th, particularly through Harvest Market, that would really be probably a little too chaotic to run it during Harvest Market weekend, for sure.
Yeah.
What's
I
your,
heard that.
what are you thinking for a time period? If everything goes wonderfully,
Yeah,
everyone's excited, when does it happen?
so this grant would be dispersed June or July, depending on how the grant committee works things out.
Is that this year's UPWP money, or FY26?
It would, it's separate from CCRPC. It's from ARP's.
Well, okay,
And they'd be dispersing around then. Once we get that, we would have to order it and then coordinate the delivery to either local motion office and just use a van to get all these things out. Install probably late July, early August. And then run through August and see how we feel from there. I would like, ideally by doing early August for a month, we get at least some children using it as a path to school. And then everything beyond that would be kind of a bonus.
How it played.
Yeah. And I,
Harvest market does fall within the kind of, yeah. You know, this sort of goes to.
Well, hard market end of September.
Yeah, it's the last weekend, the full weekend in September. But if you're gonna go to National Walk to School Day, that's October 9th. So that would be a problem. This goes to how you know, how people would feel. I mean, because you guys work, you know, as you said, you want to do things and you are limited thing. You know, if you had, you know, found out that there are serious concerns and pushback from the residents to even get started, you know, how is that going to impact, you know, your desire or need for this project, you know, moving on to doing other things? You know, just how you're going to feel about things like that.
I'm not sure I follow your question.
Well, you know, because you guys want to do things, it's very clear that you want to be able to, you know, follow the town plan and do projects to, you know, build connectivity. But say that, you know, there becomes serious concerns and, you know, serious pushback from the residents. How is that going to make, you know, how does this impact your, you know,
Our plan?
yeah.
Okay. As far as our plan, you know, we're an advisory committee, so if the town says, please stop, you know, we're happy to stop. Our goal is always to improve, but, you know, we're not employees, we're not the town, so we can't make decisions on that. So we are, you know, trying to do what is best for the larger community. And I don't think there's anything the town has ever done that has 100% agreed. So someone's always going to be upset, and that's part of these surveys. And our goal is to, you know, make sure we talk to everyone who lives on the road and might use the road. You know, I travel along the road on my bike to go to the grocery store. So all of the people who are residents of Jericho and use that road, I think, deserve a say. And if they all don't want it, then we've got other things we can work on. But if they do, what?
Who did you survey?
We started with residents, so everyone got a
Residents of the
mailer
whole town?
of Raceway
Yeah,
Road.
Raceway Road.
200 or so residents of Racewell received a mailer. And then we've been using local motions, social channels, the Jericho newsletter, putting posters up in various organizations around the area. I believe the library has also posted on their social media.
When you say the residents of Raceway, do you mean also the Willow
The
Lane
side
and
roads, yeah.
the roads that come? Okay,
Yeah.
so all the people that feed to Raceway.
Yes. And we're still in an outreach phase. So between now, if the application is approved by the select board, to when it would be dispersed or the grant is rewardees are announced, we're still going to be working on getting a deep level of communication with organizations, residents, making sure that this isn't a surprise to people, especially those who are using this road or living on it daily.
In the, you know, I know everybody's talking about trucks and stuff, but, you know, specifically, is that going to slow down the postal delivery, you know, because were they going in and out kind of thing?
That is, I mean, it's a good organization to reach out to and see how we can design it to best fit with them. And I don't really know how they operate on that road if they're driving down and just leaning out of their truck, their van to drop mail off. So,
But we definitely make sure that cones aren't placed, you know, in front of or next to a mailbox, because then. Or
Yeah,
those
what's
can't.
the distance between the posts?
we would like to do 25. We understand that with some driveways and mailboxes, 25 might not be feasible, and we'd rather not do shorter than that, I don't think.
I wrote down 50 feet. You say
25, I think, to 50 as an absolute maximum for this.
Gotcha. And based on like driveways and mailboxes and where they fall.
Yeah, because the
Thank you.
article, they would prefer, 25 feet. Okay, I'm good.
Okay, public. What do we got for public? You, sir, I forget your name.
So Vince Camagno, Raceway Road. So I think we're kind of putting the cart before the horse here because the condition of Raceway Road is so bad. I've been living there for 28 years and it's just getting worse every year. I mean, the Band-Aid that just dumping more gravel on top has lifted the road 12 to 18 inches higher than it was when I first moved there. So what the condition of the road is unsafe for anybody, pedestrians, cars, bicycles. So in order for this to even be considered, we would have to, I would say, get the road taken care of, whether we get it back down to the level it should be and redo the surface with the bedding properly. Or I know a study was done 6 or 7 years ago about paving it because of the amount of traffic and the amount of maintenance was required to keep it up. It's gotten beyond, what we can keep affording to do. So that said, I just think this should be waited until we do something with the road itself. As far as, narrowing the thing, in the morning, if you go out to 15 by Jericho Market, there's a long line of traffic coming out of Cambridge and Jefferson. And if you're going to be, off the median because of the barriers there, you're not going to allow enough people to come in and turn safely on the raceway without creating a bottleneck problem.
Can two cars pass one another?
Right now they can, but
No.
if you put a barrier up,
Yeah.
there's not enough room.
I'm asking these gentlemen,
Yeah, but there won't be enough.
but I'm asking these gentlemen. When the 4 feet is cropped off, can two cars pass one another without going into the walking space?
Two cars will be able to pass each other. Yeah, like I said, most cars
No, they
are
can't.
That's not correct.
6 to 7 feet.
No,
Thank you.
you didn't do your homework. That's not correct.
My name's Brian. I live on Raceway as well. I got, one survey. I've received one survey, from you guys. I can't speak to if it went to the whole town or just Raceway Road. I don't know. So I've only received one. I live directly on Raceway Road. The road's been an issue as long as I've lived there 10 years. With the potholes, all that stuff. Obviously, the highway department does their very best. They grade that road almost weekly, in certain times of the year, to try to maintain it. In the presentation that was sent, that came out from you guys, I noticed a lot of inconsistencies. So like definition of a high-speed turn from 15 on a raceway, how are we classifying that as a high-speed turn? That's one thing that was put in there and projected to the town that I disagree with. Another comment you made here, damage to vehicles, or damage to emergency vehicles. This is, I have personal experience with ballards. It will significantly damage the vehicles. They are plastic, but they will significantly damage emergency vehicles. I've seen it happen, significantly damage vehicles, fire trucks that were trying to get access to properties. And it's gonna, without a doubt, damage somebody's personal car. These fire trucks have steel bumpers that are meant to potentially push cars or obstacles potentially out of the way. Now you're talking a plastic bumper on somebody's car. Emergency vehicle coming through and somebody's got to yield or get out of the way for the emergency vehicle. It's going to completely obstruct that. I have a picture on my phone from just the other day of a lady walking on Raceway Road. I was approaching the female walking on the road as a truck was coming towards me. As it states right now, I had to stop, let the truck pass me to go around her to give her adequate room. That's without any ballards, right? So as it states, without ballards, without a 4-foot designated area, somebody walking on the road, I could not safely continue driving on the road without coming to a stop. And that's at one of the widest portions of the road, which happens to be near my house. I'm curious how many kids walk to school. I do see a handful of kids that do walk Raceway Road to and from school. I can't tell you the numbers, but if you guys are doing this study, we should know that, right? In your report, you talked about Route 15, or Route 15. Well, there's a sidewalk there where the crosswalk is. It's a flashing marked crosswalk with a sidewalk off the road that people can safely stand there. I have concerns because this thing was brought up entirely by somebody that doesn't even live on Raceway Road. So this impacts people that live on Raceway Road the most, more than anybody. Living on a road, I see the people walking, I see the people driving. Cars do drive way too fast all the time. I agree with you there. But bicycles and walkers also are at fault on this road. On more than one occasion do I see four wide bicycles who A, refuse to yield for vehicles. But B, they're taking up the entire road, having a conversation. These bicycles are cutting through, right? Are we trying to talk about people that live on the road trying to commute? Or are we talking people just cutting through the road for a joyride? People walking, on more than one occasion do I see people walking 3, 4 wide. They don't yield to vehicles as it is when they come through, right? So I think there's people at fault, both walking, riding vehicles, and driving cars. I don't think that this is a clear-cut one versus the other. I do agree with you that people's safety is a priority. However, we have major problems with this road. We have for years. It's been brought up year after year after year. It's been brought up on public forums, and we haven't addressed any of the issues on the road. And now we want to add another factor to the road. Like, we shouldn't even be discussing this right now. We should be focusing, in my opinion, we should be focusing on fixing the road to prepare it for potentially something like this to take place. But as this gentleman said, we're putting a cart before the horse. We're going to add another infrastructure to a road that's not prepared to have this infrastructure. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. The 25-foot rule between ballards, I mean, I would have to sit here and put some tape on the floor and exactly count out 25 feet, but I drive an F-250. I don't know if I'm going to try to quickly pull in between 25 feet of space. Also, you're talking from Willow Lane to the grocery store. You're talking, the main concern would be the Jerry Hill apartment complex. Their sidewalk is almost half that distance closer to Raceway. They have a sidewalk that comes out of that development, goes over and comes out on the Raceway Road. It's not even, it's halfway between Willow Lane and Route 15. You can see it right on Google Maps, anything you want. So if you're talking about their concern and their safety, they have a paved sidewalk that comes out onto Raceway Road, half that distance. So my concerns are, you're doing research, and I thank you guys for the research that you've done and the time you've committed to this. However, there's a lot of inconsistencies in your report that are not properly being reflected to the taxpayers out here, right? So that's a huge concern to me, right? It should be accurate, should be detailed when you come to the town so that we have all our ducks in a row. We don't know how many people. Do we even know how much traffic flows through there? My camera catches cars on the front of my house, catches cars all day, all night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. There's traffic cutting through that road. I've followed cars through that on that road. It's used as a cut through every single day, all day long. People zip through it because they think it's faster than Route 15. I see it all the time. I follow the cars all the time. I know exactly what's going on. I know who a lot of the players are that do this on a frequent basis, right? So what are we talking here? Are we trying to make the road safer for the community that lives there? I see in a lot of the forums, a lot of the people that have a lot to say don't even live near Raceway Road. It doesn't impact them on a daily basis, where it's impacting us on a daily basis.
Thank you for your comments.
So,
there's a couple people online. I'd like to go to Zoom next. I'm going to go in order as I see it, which I think means the order in which you raised them, but it may not. Jessica Dion. Jessica, you are muted if you're talking. Okay, Jessica, I'm going to move on to Martha Prince. Go ahead, Martha.
Hi, I'm Martha Prince. I'm going to go back and just from the beginning of your meeting, I just want to reflect a bit about old business, how it kind of gets pushed behind. So what I'd like to know is that we're trying to introduce this new section of biking or utility path or whatever to get on to that end. I drove that road, I looked at it, and I'm saying, how in the world is this ever going to work? But I also know that how many grants, how many studies, how many of these things have we already done? How many of them that we still have not completed that are still hanging out there? It seems like we have possibly, where do we have? Lee River Road. There's supposed to be some sort of sidewalk or something that's there. We've had the money, we've had the grant, they studied it and they've whatever. It's not complete. Nobody's done anything with it. We talked up at Riverside. Those things, we've studied these things to death, but nobody produces anything and then they never get completed. We talked last year about going from Griswold up through to Packard and calling that quits it there to just get this started or to entertain the thought of how do we make this work? And then going either Route 15 or going Raceway or back around the horse pasture and the wherever. But these funds and these things and these studies we've already put money into, where have they gone? I don't see an inch of blacktop. I don't see a bunch of gravel. I don't see anything that's being produced by doing all of these studies, having all of these meetings, and it's old business. We don't ever accomplish or complete what we start before we start going ahead and saying, let's dump some more funds into somewhere else. So I think that some of those things just need to be completed and go with what we have and what it should be moved from old business up to new business, and then start over and entertain adding things. I think the other end of Raceway is much more dangerous than the other end over there. If somebody's going to ride a bike and go up by the bank and up through that curve where it goes down into the gully and up and around where the horses are and where the dentist office is, that's much more dangerous for somebody on a bike and walking than the other end is. So I guess my point is, I think we should complete the ones that we've already done all of these studies. It's a shame to keep dumping money into studies and doing all of this stuff and then sitting on our hands and doing absolutely nothing to complete them.
Thanks for your comments, Martha. Jessica, are you able to unmute? Jessica Dion? You're still muted.
Okay, is that better?
It is.
Okay, great. Can I respond to Martha, or is that inappropriate?
I'd like you to address the board, please.
Okay. So in terms of, so I'm on the Jericho Bike and Pedestrian Committee as well. And I just wanted to say, in terms of grading the road, we're well aware of that. I also live off of Raceway, so I'm not just a fairy in some far off land pretending that I care. I drive Raceway every day. Today I drove it about 3 miles an hour because the potholes are really spicy. I run it almost every day. I bike it regularly in the summertime. So I am a connoisseur of Raceway. In terms of grading, the committee is going to work with the highway department to move those bollards prior to any grading that needs to happen. And we understand that they may need to do it on a pretty quick basis. And I'm prepared, and I think a few other people are prepared to just go out there and move those bollards. So we do not want to get in the way of the highway department. We don't want to get in the way of emergency vehicles. We don't want to be a pain in anyone's side or other body part. This demonstration project is not meant to be contentious. It's meant to kind of open people's eyes to the possibilities. And as Jack mentioned, this isn't us saying that we have the golden perfect solution and you guys need to just deal with it. This is opening the conversation. So this demonstration is probably not even close to what we're going to do in the long term, but it's shaking things up enough to get people thinking. And if people come to the committee and to the select board and they say, this doesn't work for these reasons, that's fantastic. That's why we're doing these surveys. That's why we're having forums, because we need data from the public about what works and what doesn't work, so we can iteratively figure out what is going to be better for everyone. And in terms of doing the project now instead of waiting, if Raceway, I do agree that Raceway is a spicy road and complicated, and I don't think anyone really loves it the way it is, but there are certain problems with any proposed solution like paving. And we also have limited money. So, I mean, it's a conversation, but we can't wait until after the road is fixed to say, hey, should we put in some pedestrian infrastructure? Because then it will be too late. So you're saying it's too early, and I'm saying now isn't too early, because if we wait until the road is is fixed or modified in some way, it's going to be too late to add that infrastructure. We'll say, oh, shoot, we don't even know what will work. We should have done a study. So that's what we're doing now. In terms of the Harvest Market, we're not allowed to park on that road anyway. So people are welcome to walk on the road, but residents don't want people parking through their driveways and blocking emergency vehicles. So even if we did leave that corridor up, I actually think it would be a boon. Right now, we have to put a bunch of signs up saying no parking, and the bollards could just have no parking signs on them, and it would accomplish both. In terms of the mail, I think most of the mailboxes are on the side that we're not going to put the walkway, but of course, we would be sensitive to people's mailbox and to mail delivery. In terms of how many kids walk to school, that is good information to find out, but we're talking about a catch-22 here because kids walk to school based on their safety and their perceived safety. So you're going to get more kids walking to school if it's safe. You're going to get more kids biking to school. I used to bike with my kids to school, but it was a little spicy. So a more interesting question might be, how many kids are affected? How many kids live in this area and would be able to walk to school if they had the infrastructure? That would be an interesting question. In terms of being used as a cut through, I mean, it's kind of ironic because the road conditions are bad enough that I don't think anyone thinks it's a shortcut at this point. If it were paved, maybe, but the highway, Route 15 is 50 miles an hour for a good portion of that. So I don't think the math works out, but I do agree that people drive too fast. And part of narrowing the road and putting things in the road is going to cause people to slow down, which I think will be a positive thing. But in any case, we're not trying to ram anything down anyone's throat. What we're trying to do is start a conversation. And we would like to have polite, constructive feedback because we're all in this together and this is our town and we want it to work for everyone. That's all.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm going to go to the room now before I go to the next person on Zoom. Sir?
Hi. I'm Fred Lavenberg. My wife and I live up in the foothills. I do bike. I have never in 20 years biked on Raceway, but I walk my dogs every day on Raceway. And all you'd have to do is walk your dogs from the foothills out to the Jericho Market. And there's not a time that a car comes by, even a single car with the condition of the road. Great. The road crew, I give great kudos to. They do their best. The road is used enough that it doesn't take long for the potholes to appear. So we're always stopping, a garbage truck and a car, you're stopped. The thought of, going over into this space where this bollards are and hitting a biker because you're getting out of the way of this car. We've already at the other end of Raceway up by Foothills, we almost got run over. A guy coming over the road, sun's in his eye. This is not the time to have this experiment on this road. You had mentioned over at Griswold, those are paved roads. Maybe do it over there. But Raceway is. It's just a really bad idea even to have a 1 month experiment. It's dangerous. It's really dangerous.
Thank you for your comments. I'll go back to Zoom. Jenna?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jenna. I live on Valley's Edge. I wouldn't want to agree with most of the people who don't want the Ballards. I will cut to the chase and say my biggest concern is I feel like if we just changed the speed limit of the road to 25 miles an hour, I feel like we would improve the safety for children walking to school, people walking their dogs, and other pedestrians, bicyclists. I feel like that's a better fix for a road that already has issues with the grading. Other people have said most of my other points, so I will just leave it at, I personally believe that a slower speed limit on that road and maybe we pay a sheriff for 6 weeks to hand out a couple tickets for people and see if that would improve people's behavior a little bit and create safety for the bicyclists and, dog walkers alike. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jenna. And Amy.
Hi, okay. After numerous select board meetings and discussions regarding a possible multimodal path connecting Jericho Corners with the Riverside area of Jericho, on April 4th of 24, the select board selected alternative number 3 as their preferred alternative. The select board determined that if they had to choose an option to continue to pursue, that was the one. This alternative consisted of extending the sidewalk from Griswold Street to Packard Road, crossing the road, and then adding signage on Raceway Road. That's it, signage. That was the motion that was approved at the select board meeting. Ideas have been presented and studied regarding paving and bike lanes, sidewalks, etc., but none of those were viable options, signage only. It was also noted that other possibilities avoiding Raceway may still be on the table. But first, the Griswold to Packard section needed to be built, and then it would be determined if there were other ways to connect without Raceway. The materials provided by Local Motion state that in April of 24, the Jericho Selectboard approved of a plan for Raceway Road to serve as a key bicycle and pedestrian connection between Riverside and Jericho Corners. That's not accurate. The Select Board priority was to get the connection built between Griswold and Packard, and then make a final determination at that point as to how to proceed with signage on Raceway or a different route. On July 8th, 3 months after that meeting, Peter attended the Bike Ped Committee meeting to ask them to look at ways to make use of Raceway by bicyclists and pedestrians more viable. The discussion at that meeting continued with ideas of how to make a protected bike, pedestrian, wheelchair path. I'm confused as to what changed in the 3 months between the April 4th Select Board meeting and the Bike Ped meeting that warranted starting these discussions again. From review of the Bike Ped Committee meeting minutes, it also seems that meetings were held with stakeholders. We are stakeholders, residents who live on Raceway and use it every day. Even after all the discussions and concerns from Raceway Road area residents presented at previous Select Board meetings and Planning Commission meetings regarding the road and area, and the ask to be informed when discussions regarding the road were occurring, we still were not notified until now, 7 months after discussions began again. The proposal now is for a temporary demonstration project to be erected on Raceway Road, consisting of delineator posts creating a protected path running from Willow Lane, Valley's Edge, east toward Route 15 from early summer through mid-fall, 3+ months. A dedicated protected bike pedestrian lane will not allow for two-way vehicle traffic. It won't. Mail delivery, garbage pickup, road grading, etc. will be impacted. Raceway Road is not a lightly traveled roadway. Per the Stantec report from the Select Board meeting minutes of February 15th of 24, it had 765 vehicle trips per day in 2022. It seemed to me that this is going to create very unsafe conditions with 2 cars trying to navigate a third of a mile of a road with basically one lane to share next to a protected bike pedestrian lane. I do not support this project. The Bike Ped Committee minutes of February 10th of this year state that the committee needed to talk to Jerry Hill residents and staff to solicit allyship for the Raceway Road project, as well as the Local Motion material stated that depending on the grant funding, the project team also hoped to revitalize the walking path between Raceway Road and Jerry Hill in order to better serve the community that lives there. 40+ years ago, when Jerry Hill was built as a designated Jericho and Underhill resident senior center, an asphalt path was built running from the senior center to Raceway Road, and then along the Raceway Road right-of-way up to 15. The town never maintained it, but it still exists there and could be revitalized possibly to keep Jerry Hill residents completely off the road if they wish to travel to the Jericho market and beyond. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Lonnie, I'm going to skip you just because 2 in a row from the same household seems unfair. I'm going to go to Maria and then I'll come back to you if that's okay, Lonnie. So go ahead, Maria Young.
Hi, thank you. I echo everyone else's concerns, so I don't think I need to restate that at this point. I just do agree that adding those bollards is just adding obstacles in the road that don't need to be there and are going to be detrimental and hindering trash pickup and mail and other cars, meeting each other. And I also live in Valley's Edge, right off Raceway, and I walk the road as well, and have never really had a concern with cars. As I'm walking down the road, cars generally slow down or move around. And I'm just not sure having a partition like that of 4 feet, however wide it's going to be, is going to prevent, I think, more accidents potentially than not having anything up at all. Putting what I see to be obstacles in the road. And as Amy just said, maybe a grant would be more useful to redo the path from Jerry Hill to Raceway, and then that sidewalk up on the left side of Raceway to Route 15. And maybe a grant would be better served there if that's the main concern is for the Jerry Hill residents to have access to Jericho Market and beyond with, a wheelchair or a motorized chair. So, and I note that it is an AARP grant, so seems, maybe that's where the money would be, if the grant is approved, and would be better spent upgrading the path and the sidewalk that is already there. Another question
But before you go on, I'm sorry that I'm just personally confused at this sidewalk that people are talking about. And as you have all witnessed, I get confused easily. So it's not your fault other than mine.
Show you on the map.
I'm pulling it up.
It's visible.
There's a sidewalk that runs on the
North
east side, north side.
Northwest.
It's on the Jerry Hill side of Raceway. It's completely covered in sand and.
It's not completely covered.
What do you mean? So there's a sidewalk where? So like.
It's about 10 feet off the road here.
You're on the wrong.
Well,
avenue.
So it's right there.
yeah, and it's been over.
That's South Main Street.
You're off the road.
Keep going up.
I can show you, I have, it's down by keep going down Raceway. Keep going.
Yeah, it's just been overgrown, so
Keep going.
just need to be.
Yeah, so it's right here.
Go to Route 15.
Oh, Jerry Hill here. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I think Jerry
sidewalk.
Hill, and I'm thinking the place over by.
Sidewalk here and here.
Yeah, all right. All right, thanks everybody for hearing me.
Yes, absolutely.
It's
covered up.
covered up.
There.
But it's only tar. It's tar.
The remnant right there.
Oh, yeah, the remnant.
It's got grass growing out onto the pavement. And
It's also been.
Well,
Okay, I'm
yeah.
sorry. Maria, go ahead.
No, that's fine. So really, that's what I wanted to say. But then I also, I wondered what Peter's impetus was for going to the Bike Ped Committee to talk about Raceway, and did he do that as a private citizen, and then he brought that to the select board. So I just wanted to maybe hear a little bit from Peter on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't remember exactly when I first got elected. Amy said April 4th. When I first got elected in March, I went to every committee just as a part of being new to the select board and talked to all the committees about what they were doing. And I told the bike ped people that I, as a select board member, one person I wouldn't quote myself, but I think I probably said this is just me talking. I'm not talking on behalf of the select board, but I am here as a select board member. Feel that walkability is something that lots of people in town are concerned with and wanting more of, and wanting to get out of their cars and be walking and biking more. And I personally would like you guys to think about looking into that. And I named Raceway because I don't know where it was in the conversation, but around that time, there was talk about the sidewalk from Griswold to Packard, and then sort of like, good luck on Raceway.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Lonnie?
I know, I mean, I know that's one of the reasons why your people, want to increase the select board number from 3 to 5 is that one person alone can't speak on select board matters. So I just want to make sure that wasn't some conflict of interest or, everything's above board here.
The only places where select board decisions can be made is in this meeting here. Anytime we are out in the public, even if we had a board of 5 and there were 2 of us out there, we couldn't do anything. And even if we had 3 and we were doing like that, would be all of a sudden it would be an unwarned select board meeting. So it's never that.
Okay, so that's my misunderstanding. So I apologize, but I just, again, want to echo the concerns that everybody has, and maybe the grant can be used to improve the from Jerry Hill Apartments to Route 15, the path and sidewalk that's already there. Thank you.
That's what I just went and looked at. Okay.
That's the name of the apartment.
Yeah, but I mean, is this like a private, where the whole town is again to get together for their?
So, sir, I'm sorry, you haven't been running. I'm trying to
Okay.
my first time being chair, so I'm trying to be good.
I'm
It's
sorry.
bought out, it's privately owned now.
Mr. Carroll.
I'd like to clarify a couple of questions to the group, and anybody can answer.
Well,
Does the
I'd
grant
like,
have
this
to
needs
be
to go
for-
towards me.
Okay, does the grant, I'll ask my questions. First of all, thank you very much for all your work. I've seen people hit by cars and it's an awful thing to happen. And so thank you for all the work. Does the grant have to be used for Raceway? Because it sounds to me like these 100 ballards become an asset after the grant is successfully approved that can then be used by the citizens of Jericho through the group. So I think you said 1/3 of a mile. I think that's about 1,600 linear feet. And I'm getting confused as to, I drive Raceway all the time.
1,750 feet is what I have here in my packet.
1,650.
1,750.
Okay. So let's just presume that all of this energy and all this work for the community of Jericho, I just have to say, is incredibly beneficial, and we really need it, because one of the reasons why the vehicles are getting used is because the people don't feel safe walking. So whatever we can do, I think as a citizenry, I think we should try to do it. And I don't know of anything better than a demonstration project. So I really want to thank you. I'm getting older, so I wobble a little bit when I'm on the bicycle. I understand all the frustration, but hopefully all of your work, let's just assume that everything got approved tonight and you were down there for 3 days and 7 people smashed their cars and you had to pull them. Can we think of, in terms of applying for this grant and saying more discussion needs to occur about this? You haven't even had any meetings, but we need to get the grant. I can offer that there's other places in town, for example, in front of MMU. On Morgan Road, I own 1,600 feet of frontage. You don't have to ask anybody other than me. The school buses, the FedEx people are insane.
Grocery store at the other end.
Okay, and the kids get dropped on Brown's Trace and they walk up Morgan Road, and then you've got the lacrosse field. So if the people from Raceway have all of this energy and intensity, and yet it sounds to me like there's a lot more problems with the maintenance and the structure of the road. But I don't hear anybody saying, let's increase the speed limit, let's go faster.
Can I pause you a minute? Because I actually want to ask your question. I hate to admit that Jim had a good question. If we approve the grant, and we later decide after a couple of these public forums that we can't move forward with it, can we still use the grant to get the bollards?
I mean, it's gonna come down to the grant administration committee.
Okay,
In the past, those types of committees, especially ones that are focused on quick build and making things work for a broad spectrum of people, are willing to, especially for a low value grant like this, only $3,500. In the past, they have been amenable to altering the terms of the application to still fulfill the needs of the community. I could not say-
maybe.
Yeah, I
Maybe.
could not sit
Thank
here
you.
and say,
Appreciate it. Thank you. Jim, I'll give you another minute and then
Okay.
then I'm gonna kind of shut down public comment unless somebody has something absolutely new that hasn't been said before. But go ahead, Jim.
So my question refined is, can we come up with 6 or 7 places, some of which the town or the school or people like me or people who want to see this happen control, so that we can take the value of all of this energy, apply for the grant, get the bollards, which becomes an asset for the town, and then work within the context of 4 or 5 options. That's my refined question, because I would hate to see all of this energy lost just because of the refinement of that specific space. But I have personally seen and ended up walking with, because I go over to Willow Lane all the time. And I've seen people with electric wheelchairs going to the grocery store. And I just felt uncomfortable. So I literally parked my car and walked. And frankly, I'm rude. I will stand there. And if you don't slow down, you're going to hit me. But so I think your purpose is just wonderful. And it sounds like there's not enough yet to have everybody saying this is the right thing to do. But I think generically, it's absolutely the right thing to do. It's just maybe that's not the right place to do this tomorrow.
Thanks, Jim. And I forgot, Lonnie, I promised you I would call on you. So go ahead, Lonnie.
Thank you, Eric. You're the man. I'll make it quick. I know a lot of things here I had prepared have been said by some other people, so I'll cut mine short, Eric. Lonnie from Valley's Edge here off of Raceway as well. Just wanted to share that a little bit of frustration from my past attendance of some select board meetings here about thinking about Raceway as a option to the connectivity plan that came to light about a year ago at this time, back in early 24. When I last attended a select board meeting in early 24, the select board was being presented options for some sort of walkway and a bike lane for residents to traverse from Griswold Street, possibly all the way to Mills Riverside Park, which was a result of many professional engineering studies and renderings dated back to at least 2016. Many residents of Raceway Road attended that meeting either in person or via Zoom, as this was the first time they were hearing that a presentation was being made about making Raceway Road a bike path. After hearing many valid concerns about feasibility and cost and attempting to turn Raceway into a bike path, the select board was pressed by the planning commission to make a decision on selecting one of the 3 or 4 options being presented that evening. Reluctantly, citing many projects requiring funding throughout the town, the select board indicated they would try to obtain funding for the engineered plans to construct a pedestrian/bike path from Griswold Street to Packard Road and revisit furthering path options in the future. Again, about 10 weeks after that decision was conveyed and of not doing anything further with Raceway, the Bike Ped Committee was charged by a select board member with developing solutions and a proposal for walking and biking along Raceway Road. I'm scrolling down to my last point I'd like to make here. Mr. Evans from Local Motion states that the select board approved a plan for Raceway Road to serve as a key bicycle and pedestrian connection, which is undeniably misleading and false. I also believe Mr. Phillips may not be aware of the history of sidewalks and path studies throughout the town. As I noted earlier, the town has paid for numerous engineering studies and designs from multiple engineers and presentations since 2016 for the described connectivity to different areas of town. None of the designs included utilizing Raceway Road, and no plans have been designed or presented until last February when Stantec Engineering mentioned Raceway Road as a third or fourth route idea. There was a lot of concern and dissent presented in February from Raceway residents about that 11th hour suggestion. In closing, I'd like to say that some streets do not lend themselves well to adding sidewalks and bike lanes. Raceway is a prime example of that, especially with its gravel surface and its overwhelming rural character. I would like to be on the record as a longtime resident of Raceway Road who strongly opposes taking the space required by engineering standards for bike paths along roadways where there is no room for that advertised bike path in the already narrow vehicular traveled lanes. Residents who live on Raceway Road or a connecting street use the road at least two trips a day, do not want to access their residence by driving down a bike path. I also strongly disagree with Cody Phillips about obtaining town consensus. The residents who live on or off of Raceway should be the stakeholders to consider changing the character or impacts to usage of the road. Thank you for your time, all.
Thanks, Bonnie. Okay. I did see Susan's hand, which I was going to entertain, even though I said, only if it's new, but I see that she took it down, so she may have thought better of what she had to say. Wow.
Welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, boy, this is a good first.
Yeah.
Was it your first one like this too? Listen, I appreciate everybody's, I haven't stated where I'm at with this. I'm appreciative of everybody. Everyone kept their tone really well. I appreciate that. I really appreciate you guys coming in with this. It's not easy to have this many people like this concerned about what you're pitching. So I appreciate you, all of it. I'm just going to say my opinion about some of the things. I agree with when we chose that we had 3 options and we chose this one, and I can only speak for myself. I didn't love any of the options. I see it. We had 4 options. Worst option was do nothing. We really need connectivity. We need walkable villages. We have tons of data from the town doing it. That is the worst option. The next worst option was going down the south side of Route 15. It was going to impact so many driveways, like so many, like a residence well. There was very impactful to all of the properties along that Route 15 corridor between Packard and Mills Riverside Park. So then there was an option like through the middle of the field. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Sounded a little, we ended up not loving that one for a couple of reasons. There was
The river that was cutting in and safety.
yeah, wetland, river, and you're in the middle of a field in the dark, and
Yeah,
it
that was
didn't seem great. And so we chose the Raceway one. And I will say personally, what made me okay with the decision is, and it's been mentioned by a couple people, I really, all of the, except for that weird field one, all of them require us to build that first section of walkway from Jericho Elementary School to Packard. And so picking this one, I felt gave us time to like start thinking through. So it was a little like, oh my gosh, I thought I had like 5 years before it, right? Because sidewalks take forever. They take forever to build. So I kind of thought I had more time to think through some of these things.
3 to 5 years.
So that's one thought that I have. Another thought that I have is I love the idea of trying something for a little bit. I get it. I understand all the concerns. They're all very valid concerns and serious concerns. But how often do we get a chance to try something for like a month or two? You know, like I really like that concept. I'm not saying necessarily this particular plan is a good thing to try or not a good thing to try, but I like that particular piece of the plan that it's like, hey, it's temporary. Hey, we see how traffic goes. We see if people actually use it. Maybe they don't feel safe. Maybe it doesn't change anything. And that informs so much instead of like studies where like it's all on paper by people at computers and right. Like this is like, in my opinion, the best possible way to do the study in general. I'm not saying yes or no to this particular project, but I love the concept of let's see how it is. We do it in August when maybe the potholes aren't so bad and we're not getting snow and we're not, so those are my opinions on where we're at. I think I'm sorry, ma'am. I think I'm done with public comment, but that was my, my takeaway from reading this, from listening to you all. This is a tough one.
Well, tonight's conversation, I think, is not about if this is a good idea or not. It's about can the bike ped committee apply for a grant? And that if the grant is awarded, we can decide after more conversation, we don't want to do this.
Or if
That's my understanding.
Or limit the timeline.
Or go do whatever, Oh.
You want a motion, huh?
I'm not saying I want a motion. I said my opinion and.
Well, then, yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong, he just said to you guys that if we push on with the grant, we have to follow through. It's not a matter of just getting the grant.
That's not what he said.
No, but then
I know get the grant, it has to go to that.
Has to go to the bollards.
And he doesn't know if it can be used anywhere other than where it's designated for the grant.
Right, but if we say, but if a motion were to be passed right now and it was to be approved, we don't have to accept the money, right? So we will find that out at that time.
Right, but he's saying he doesn't know that that's true.
No, that part is 1000% true, 100% true. They can never force you to take money.
Okay.
In theory, if someone were to make a motion and it were to pass and we say, yes, you can apply for the grant. A lot of stuff still has to happen. We have to win it. We have to whatever.
Right.
And
At the time of,
engineered.
and it may come with, I mean, I know I haven't looked at it super thoroughly, but the grant could say, well, here are the conditions. And we could be like, oh yeah, no. Any grant. So we would still have the opportunity at the time of winning the money, whatever you call it, receiving the grant, the award, and we could say, no, this doesn't work for us, I'm sorry. Or we could say, hey, we like the idea of these bollard things. Some of us only learned that word tonight. Maybe it'd be nice to have, and we like this idea. At that time, maybe we could find that out.
Correct me if I'm wrong, we would need to come to you for approval to accept the grant as well. If we were awarded before we say, yes, the town's
I
gonna.
don't think you need to accept it. Your project needs approval from the select board.
Right.
And what you guys
So
get
like,
there.
and we can't accept the grant until we have permission for the project. Yeah.
And I can also say, the demonstration project is definitely the primary feature of this project.
Not well.
Well, yeah, the bollards, whether we get the grant or not, we can find another way forward. If the town supports it and we don't get the grant. But also if we do get the grant and the town doesn't support it, we still have these 6 months that we've been having a conversation about the community's priorities, what they're envisioning for the future of Raceway Road. And all of this data saying, this is what the town wants to see here. This is how people feel in terms of safety on the road, that we can then still share with you, grant or no grant.
Thank you for that clarification.
So then we have this conversation again, and then again, right? So we keep having the same conversation again. So like, my point is like, did you have the statistics or is that coming out at the 22nd meeting or whatever of your survey?
Um,
You didn't present any statistics, so I didn't know, like, of what the survey came out to be.
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? Like what is the deciding factor or what determines decision on whether we proceed or not?
the select board does.
Right, but based on what? So overwhelmingly tonight, concerns have been brought that we don't want this. Like, I think it's pretty clear that overwhelmingly it was in favor to not do this, right?
Of the people that
Of the
showed
people
up
in the
tonight,
room,
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely,
Right,
but
so, and so what are we basing, so overwhelmingly, we say we don't want it, but you guys say, yes, let's go forward with it, like, what's the,
so,
what are you guys using for determination to decide if we apply for a grant, I guess is my question, like, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, and I kind of tried to shut down the public portion of this, but I will answer that one. I will answer that one. I would refer you to the town plan. When we approved the town plan a little over a year ago, there is a ton of data in there. And that town plan shows the direction for our town. And some of that was connected communities, some of that was pathways.
Specifically, right?
No, not specific ones, but like, I can promise you, wherever we will go to put a path, we will get similar resistance. I'm not saying this right or
I don't
wrong.
disagree, yep.
So anywhere we go to put it, we're gonna get this. And it's gonna be the people who are impacted the most. And if that keeps happening every time we go to do it, then Jericho never gets the paths. They never get the next thing. So these are the things that we
have to have it. What's stating we have to have it?
The town plan.
The town plan states that this has to happen regardless.
The town plan
It's a suggestion, right?
is a strong.
The town plan is a plan.
It's a 10-year plan.
It's excuse me, sir.
The plan. You're right.
Can I speak now? Okay, so the town plan was adopted by the select board, I believe before I was on it. And the town plan is the plan for the future of Jericho. And in there was the request for us to look at connectivity and getting people out of their cars and into walking and biking. And as Eric has pointed out, anywhere we do this, there'll be people who are furious about it.
Right.
That doesn't mean we don't do that.
Right? So, but if the taxpayers don't want it, is my question across the board, right? Does the plan have to be revisited?
I get your point. I appreciate your comments. I hear you. Thank you. Public comment on this section is over.
Make a motion to approve. I'll make a motion to approve the Bike Peds Committee's request to submit a grant to, is it to local motion directly? Or to the AARP?
AARP dispersed to the town.
Well, second, I'm conflicted. I mean, data's good, but, they are gonna have another meeting that will get more feedback from the community, I'm sure. So that if they do get the grant, we have to revisit it with a lot of questions. And under those conditions, I'll second them.
I like that comment. There's a lot of things that I have concerns about the project as it is. I personally don't see a harm in applying for the grant at this time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Again, I appreciate everybody's comments. Next item on the agenda is to approve the bid contract for the town maintenance facility. Is Matt still here?
No, but I have. That is the document.
I don't think there's a ton of discussion needed for this one. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to award the bid for the town maintenance facility to Jewett Construction. And I should put the cost in there.
3906-154.
Yeah, there you go, 3906-154. That's the base bid.
That, it's not, It's not the 2/3 down the page, the 3912.
Yeah, it's three, well, yeah, the baby, yeah.
Oh,
He
sorry.
said he wanted to, what we need to public is the base bids, that they were all the same, but you're right, the actual final bid adjustment.
I don't know that, I just had never looked at that other number. I thought
Yeah, I
that we were
hadn't
talking
noticed
about
that.
3912,688.
Yeah, so
Where do you see that one?
Like
Bottom
right here,
page.
the bottom of the first chunk. No, this over here.
Oh, sorry, you're on
I
that.
think I'm in the wrong place.
The thing that I have in front of me is base bid is 3906154.
right, which is what I said.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You need a pen?
Nope. Select board chair, I have to carry my own. Okay,
And then,
Then this one.
next item on the agenda.
Hold on one second. So I apologize. I'm looking at, so I see I see a bunch of adds and deducts, and I see bullet 5. Town of Jericho will prepare a lump sum contract using the consensus docs 205 for the total contract amount of 3937548.
which is different. from all
That's a
of them.
different thing?
Yeah.
Doesn't this say we will prepare a lump sum contract using this number?
Yeah.
And I see base bid amount, and I see a bunch of pluses and
Right,
minuses.
it starts with the base number up here, and then if this is the main lump sum.
Right, but shouldn't the motion be for the lump sum, to put on the record the full amount,
Probably,
the cost?
yeah,
I don't know that, I'm just,
Yeah,
yeah,
all right.
because
Can we have the minute taker change the amount of that motion?
the 393745548,
Thank you.
and we all voted, right?
Yep.
All right, I make a motion to provide a lump sum for construction oversight services for 86,250 to Ascent Consulting.
second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Why is there a negative sign in front of that?
Where?
Phase 2.
I think it's just meant to-
Dash.
I think it's meant to be.
Yeah, I think it's a dash.
Sorry. How we need to handle your appointments? Can we do it? You have to do it each individually, or can we say as presented by Paula or Linda or whomever?
Typically, it's individually. Or at least you could do both, the full committee, you could do each by committee.
No, you want that, Eric?
I'm just looking at it, I'm sorry. Yeah, I would
You
just
could
try to, I think grouping them and just, oh, yes, like the first, yeah, the next two aren't.
Right.
Yeah. So I say you do it by committee, and then just quickly with the names.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to appoint SJ Doobie, the Affordable Housing Committee for 3 years with a term ending in 2028.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Olivia Arendt as the Animal Control Officer for a period of 1 year ending in 2026.
I'll second that.
I'd like to make, oh, sorry.
All those in favor say aye.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Niels Reinhardt, Colby Wilder, and Jessica Dion all to the Bike Ped Connectivity Committee for a period of 3 years ending in 2028.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Wayne Ellis and Sabina Ernst for a period of 3 years to the Conservation Commission with a term expiring in 2028.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Andrew Chardane and Matt Brouillard to the Development Review Board for a period of 3 years ending in 2028.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. I'd like to make a motion to approve, the appointment of Maria Rinaldi and Wendy Vere for a period of 3 years to Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee for a term ending in 2028.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Paula Carrier as the town's emergency management coordinator for a period of 1 year ending in 2026.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
I'd like to approve the appointment of Susan McMillan, Barbara Adams, and Linda Porter, all to the town library for a period of 4 years, ending in 2029.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Lori Dykema and Martha Prince to the position of listers for a period of 1 year, ending in 2026.
I'll second that.
Hang on a minute. The
Yeah.
first one, Lori is,
That's a
Is it-
error.
oh, it's a typo?
Yeah, I think Lori should be
Is it 29 a typo or is the 1 year the typo?
the 2029, it should be
Okay.
2026.
Okay. Sorry. All those in favor say aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Riley Glanz, Terry Hook, and Chris Smith to the Mobs Committee for a period of 3 years, ending in 2028.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to appoint Susan Brzee and S.J. Doobie to the Planning Commission for a period of 3 years, ending in 2028.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
And finally, I'd like to make a motion to approve Don Tovey as town's tree warden for a period of 1 year, ending in 2026.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you to all of those committee members who are still willing to serve
Exactly.
for our town.
Yes.
Mr. Flynn.
Why am I here?
I don't remember.
How do you want to do? You want me just to delve right in, Eric?
Yeah, so I've asked Joe, so I'll give a little preamble and then I'll let you take it. So as you know, I sit with the Jericho Community Development Corporation. Joe is also on that. The select board of town of Jericho, purchased 2 railroad circle property just over right around 2 years ago. And we've been talking about different options that we have to do that. And while we decide what makes the most sense, the JCDC discussed asking the select board for permission to just pursue the permitting process. And so Joe, being in the field, understands this pretty well. So I asked him to come and he be the one to present it. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. I guess, can we bring up some of the
I
stuff I sent?
Do you have it, Eric? Because I have it on a thumb drive. I can pull it up if you don't. I also
We'll
have
start-
papers.
Sent emails, we have a PDF you sent us. That was me.
Yeah.
I said that was followed up later, Peter. So there was one packet that was submitted for you.
Yeah.
And then I added in the boundary stuff.
The 6.6, 0.66 and the 2.5 acres that.
Yeah, the 2.5 and the 1.5.
Is that what you want me to share?
No, actually, the first part of the packet is the A&R atlas, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone want paper copies to look at?
I have it on.
You have it. Do you have it, Catherine? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I printed it out.
Okay.
I didn't know what it could, it's easier to read.
Okay, 1 second. I almost got it to a point where I can share it. 1 second.
So I think the easiest way to go about this is basically give a quick overview on the planning process and what we typically go through on planning right now, and not only in Jericho, but most communities right now in this area. So typically, if we're looking at the development of a parcel, the first thing to address is whether it's municipal water, municipal sewer. In this case, we have municipal water, no municipal sewer. So now we are toggled into looking at septic capacity. Okay. Now, in prior years, that was always the main driving force for something like this. As soon as we look at that, we have to find out if we have septic capacity. But in the last couple of years, there's been an another element that, impacts the development possibilities on parcels, and it's become wetlands, okay? One of the critical things that, Barnard and Jarvis did in their overview, which was a good act of Jericho, getting Barnard and Jarvis out there and performing some preliminary test pits for septic capacity, they identified there might be some heavier soils and possibility of wetlands out there. With the climate
On the property the town owns?
correct, on property the town owns. So with that information, it was the advice through the JCDC discussion that the town next step after Barnard and Jarvis did their septic review was to get a wetland specialist out there to define the wetlands. Because that has the second layer of impact on what you can do with this. So we basically reached out to the committee reached out to a private consultant to see if we can get them located. They were so busy, and we were so late in the season, we were beyond the identification time. So currently the town of Jericho is on the waiting list once the growing season starts to define the wetlands out there, if there are any. The reason I show the A&R atlas is the dark green are A&R defined current wetlands, class 2 or greater, and the darker brown or off green is hydric soils. Typically, hydric soils go hand in hand with wetlands. So once we have the evaluation with the wetlands, then we can probably look at the next steps, which would be moving forward with what can we build on this lot? How much can it support? How many units can we support? The town parcel viewer shows it at 2.5, but earlier this today, I was looking at that and I was just curious because something didn't look right. And to be honest, I ran some areas because there is a plat on file. I don't know if, can you bring that plat up? The survey, it's in the.
Did you send it to me?
I also sent it to, bring it, if Peter or Eric can show the survey plat.
I can see if I have it.
That was the second email.
That was from Joe today at 1:23 PM.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, you're bringing it up. The reason I bring this up is the parcel map shows it being 2.5 acres. But
This one, actual area?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
But that 2.5 acres is inclusive of the town road, Railroad Ave. You can see right there. So this is a filed boundary survey of the piece, which is good for the town. You already have a survey plan on file. So that may, depending on how the permitting process goes and what you decide to do and what it'll yield, it may negate the necessity of surveying it again.
Excuse me? I'm not sharing the screen yet. I have to share the screen.
Thank you.
Let's see if
I can share it.
Did you have it pulled up there?
Yeah. Now Zoom can see it from my screen.
Yep.
I believe, right, Aaron?
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
So
you.
what we're looking at is the black line is the defined area of ownership of land and fee title. It's a fancy name for, which you own lock, stock, and barrel. But the green area is what the town right away is based upon a road layout that this surveyor identified. And I do believe he's correct. I would agree with that determination.
What does that mean in rule play? I was wondering about the kind of the extra that shoots off
Yep,
to the right.
Good question, Peter. So he cites on his survey a book and page where this right of way, this road was laid out with bearings and distances, meets and bounds.
Okay.
So he felt comfortable enough to put it on there. And so what you run into a little bit now is you originally think you have a 2.5 acre piece and you can use all 2.5, but now you're down to 1.9
Because of the road.
Because of the road. While you don't own underneath the road, well, you own underneath the road, it's still useless land. You cannot use that as buildable area or for density. So the reason what
What
comes
if
in
the
the,
town were to discontinue the road?
I'm getting to that. Great point. What that does is it triggers some density. So in this zone, it's quarter acre density. And if you look at 2.5 acres, without any density bonuses or anything, you can do, six lots on this. You could, okay? 2.5 acres, 6 lots, quarter acre zoning. If you look at the zoning, if you look at the area
I
with
count 10.
quarter acre zoning, 1, 2, 3, 1 acre.
Yeah, 10. I mean, 2.5.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yes, 10. You're right.
So 10
I'm
lots.
sorry.
Can I ask
You're
you a
right.
question about that? Don't you need a certain amount of road frontage? I mean, I've got 5.5 acres across the street. If you're telling me I can just divide that into 20 some odd building lots, that would be wonderful.
Well, hold on, there's
Well,
more.
that's the question.
No, it's a good question. So, but hold on. Again, I'm outlining the parameters on some of this. So anyway, so now you're gonna flip to possibly 1.9. Okay, that changes it. Okay, how many units you can do? The only reason I bring this in is because of right now, the septic review on this showed 4 to 5 bedrooms. Okay, which is definitely less than what the lots will yield zoning wise. The report does state that this is without any pre-treatment. Pre-treatment sometimes can get you 1.5 to 2 times more. Okay, but that comes at a cost. Pre-treatment systems on something like this can run upwards of 80,000. Okay.
Gee, ours is only 25.
Is pre-treatment what it sounds like? It treats the stuff.
Yeah, there's
gets into the leach.
Advantex, a lot of times it comes into peat, treating it with peat moss and so on. Now, again, it's expensive, but you look at the cost of one lot, what it'll yield, one lot, $150,000.
Right.
One unit. So it has advantages. So these are things to weigh as you go forward and what you want to do. Yes, some issues may come up with frontage because of this, depending on how you decide to move forward and what the capacity is. Eric, your point of discontinuing the road could definitely impact it. Okay. How many units you do, and how many units off a driveway versus a road will come into play. You can do a town road. You can put back a town road on it to access a certain amount of lots and then switch to a driveway, depending on how you want to get there. You can have 4 units off a driveway. Okay.
The unit's not a building, right? Unit is a home,
Yes.
a condo with 2 living units.
I'm not sure on that, Peter. I don't know because of the recent changes with fourplexes and so on,
Yeah.
how a unit will be defined in that. That I'm unsure. Typically, it's a lot, 4 lots off a drive.
Yeah.
We've had situations in Jericho where we've done 5. We want to put 5 in there. So we build a town road standards to the end of the first lot. And then we go to a driveway standard, which is less. So these are some of the things that we would look at once we get by the evaluation phase of wetlands and septic. Okay. Once you get by those 2, once we get the wetlands in and we compare it with the septic capacity and we start saying we move forward with the design, then we're really going to know what we can do on this. Typically an engineering company will put all this together and have a couple options. And basically that boils down to yield, cost, and how much value you'll get and how many lots. That's what it boils down to. So,
Yield meaning money. Yield meaning money.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And just for a little clarity, what I would personally like, and I think the JCDC is mostly on board with, we'd like to get these permits ready so that we can go to somebody like Habitat for Humanity. And I don't mean like Habitat for Humanity, I mean Habitat for Humanity, and say, we're permitted, we're ready, come do your thing.
That's what they like
Because
to
I
see.
think they are I think they are the right organization, based on the couple of years we've looked at it and what we've studied, I think they're the right organization to do it. And I think getting the permitting will help to entice and make that actually happen.
Not Champlain Housing Trust, which is the only one I know about.
So it's, I can.
Are they, you don't need to go into it, but.
They'll probably work together.
Okay.
Real high level.
That's fine.
They might build it. Champlain Housing Trust might be who keeps it in
The perpetual
yes,
affordability. Okay.
That gets back to my question 2 hours ago. What permits are you looking to get? Are you looking to get? I have no idea what permits you're talking about. Are you saying the state comes in and says, or you can put 4 buildings in, or, you know?
Right, so what he's requesting is, we've got this wetland guy coming out as soon as, whatever, as soon as the ground thaws. And then that's gonna tell us something, that's gonna give us some sort of answer. And the next step is to take that answer and say, okay, based on this, maybe he says we can do 10, maybe he says we can do 1. We're gonna then take that and we're gonna say, now we're ready to go through the permitting process for whatever the outcome of that is.
So right now you have perk tests or whatever that say
5 bedrooms. With no pre-treatment.
But if you go pre-treat, you can, you know, it's sort of
You may get more, you may get more.
May I finish? You've got somebody saying 5 bedrooms. And yeah, maybe you can pre-treat it. If you also look at the Creason's property, they had to put in $50,000 worth of treatment for the one house. And that's an abutting property. So, okay, let's start with that. You've got 5 bedrooms. Now you're coming in and saying, maybe be more restrictive too, because there could be wetlands back there. So it may reduce it. How much money are you talking about putting out to do that? And how much have you already spent on the property? And how much lack of income do you have? You don't have taxes being paid on it. I want to know what the total cost is before you say, yeah, let's get some more permitting. Because right now you've got 1.9 acres that might support 5 bedrooms. So maybe it's time to bet.
I understand that point of view.
So you answered my question. You're looking at, well, no, I'm sorry, I don't think you did answer my question. You want some kind of permit. Is it a building permit? What is
We're looking to bring the property through the permitting process of getting whatever it is. If it's 4 bedrooms, if it's 5 bedrooms, whatever that is.
Permission to build X
No,
number?
we're not asking for permission to build. We're asking for permission to get the permitting process because it costs money. The JCDC doesn't have money.
Okay.
So the JCDC has to come to this board to get money allocated. For like the little wetland thing, I think it's $800. Like, we don't need it for that, but anything over a certain threshold, the town has to approve. I'll remind you, I'm not interested in relitigating the whole purchase. This was bought with ARPA money. This is a way that we use that money in a way that could change the town. And I'm not looking to rehash all that. I understand where a lot of the people feel about it, but this is the next step to get value out of it, which is going to be getting some houses on it, which will pay taxes. Like, it's the next thing to do, and just leaving it there isn't working. And so that's why, we got a lot of flack for not doing anything. This is us trying to do something. I can't tell you exactly what that thing is because we have to have all these other things that have to line up first.
Because even if you sell it, you get more money if you have it permitted for septic.
A fully permitted parcel carries a lot bigger sale
Well,
value.
you may just answer, okay, permitted for septic. Is that what's being asked for now?
So it's a step process, and you don't do the next step till you do there's a definite order, because you don't want to do something down the line that an earlier investigation negates. Okay, so again, wetlands are very important. We have to have an analysis of wetlands. They will tell us where the impact is. If we have to cross it, can we cross it? Will wetlands give us a permit to cross it? And for how many units?
So that's one type of permit, like the answer.
One type of permit.
One kind of permit is like, is it okay with wetlands?
Yes.
You are, you're all set, great, check that box.
Next is wastewater. So, but once wetlands comes back, and let's say it comes back favorable, then we can immediately start moving forward with the sketch plan phase at the local level, at the town level. We can say, here's the wetlands, we've got the soils, let's see what we can do. Talk with the select board if you want to throw the road up. Do you not want to throw the road up? How can we do layouts? Can we do footprint lots? Can we do traditional lots? Can we leave it one big and kind of minimize the whole thing? So it's all that step. So that can begin at the local level while the wastewater permit runs in the background. We work forward with the wastewater. So basically we get sketch plan. We get good feedback from the community on sketch plan, move to preliminary. And again, something this small, 2 hearings is what I would anticipate. Sketch and then preliminary final. It's not a overwhelming site. Yeah, it's not overwhelming site. As far as if you're looking at everything above, you're going to be looking at consultants. You're going to get the wetland specialist, the soil scientist, and an engineer. Okay, those are the 3 consultants that you'll probably have to have for this. In each.
What's your guess at the process overall money?
So, not to pry, but what is the limit that the select board can do without going out to bid on a project?
I think if I can recall.
$10,000, I think.
No, you can do, a voice, you can, handshaking kind of stuff for 10, anything more than that, you need a bid.
So overall, I do not see any consultant exceeding that number. Okay, so you're not looking at, you don't, if you use multiple consultants, you may be able just to say, this one, take care of this. If it works out, then you move to the next one, and then move to the next one.
I see what you mean. So the whole thing may end up being, say, 18, but any one of those pieces that you described might be 6 or 7 each or something.
Yep, 6 or 7 each. So, again, so let's say you were going to go with a condominium condo plan with Habitat Humanity and houses that sit on it. Each house is a condo, and they own land joint. You already have a survey on file. All you need to do is do the engineering plan, and then a condo plan. So you save a boundary. A $6,000 to $8,000 boundary survey. If you decide to go the condo route, duplexes or triplex or whatever.
Well, you could do the big house, little house barn, because it looks like a neighborhood.
Yeah, so the options are there, but again, until we do the wetlands, we can't really do anything next.
So the 3 tick boxes are wetlands, septic, and local permitting.
Yeah. You not to interrupt you, Peter, but depending on how much you do and the amount of impervious you create in new construction, and you may get kicked into a stormwater permit.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I thought since we're under 3 acres.
Half acre.
It's half acre.
It's half acre.
That's a
now.
new.
Again,
new
3
permit.
acres is only on things previous to 2004 or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah. So, we talk about all the stuff we try to do as a town to promote building.
Yeah.
When the state permits pull it in themselves. So, but there's creative things you can do to try to reduce, your impervious and so on. But again, until we get by the wetlands, we kind of sit pat.
And so you and Eric just kind of off the cuff, just talking about how the money could break out, said $18,000. Well, what's your sense of cost, like high, low? Of
18 to 24.
18 to 24.
So 18 to 24 for the process.
To get ourselves to okay, we can build, someone can Habitat can build, we can sell it with a buildable property. The permits are in place for 18 to 24.
18 to 24. Now, again, one wetland permit and one wetland person can definitely, the state can definitely change the whole thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But just to give you
So maybe we're not in a good spot then, Joe, to ask the select board to say, yes, we go spend $18,000. Maybe, is there nothing we can do in parallel until the wetland?
Not really.
Just ask a quick question.
And that's May.
Yeah.
The plants have to be emergent.
Joe, you mentioned in the map, and I didn't quite see it. You said there were, different colors, there was brown and green. I mean, is there any sense of whether or not this is through wetland back there?
So I had somebody come I didn't pay her. She's a scientist. borderline, real borderline, like she isn't gonna say yes, isn't gonna say no. So that's why we need to have it.
There's just no way.
Like, no, like literally right on the edge, like she pointed to some plant and she's like, oh, that can mean wetland. I'm like, hold on a minute, because that, I live on a hill and that whole thing has that plant. She's like, it's not only on wetland. So I'm like,
It's,
okay.
that's the scary side, to be all perfectly blunt. The review of wetlands now, the rules haven't changed, but the people interpreting the rules have become much more conservative. So
I know, because your picture, with the olive green is just done in one little section.
so again, that's our stopping point right now. We actually have projects stopped right now, other ones, because we need to get the wetland people out there.
Can I offer some pragmatic citizen comments? I don't have any of the licenses or degrees that Joe has.
I got one license.
What I will say to you is, number one, you have a pre-existing use and function of the building that's there and whatever the capacities are, and the immediately adjacent property qualified for a best fix septic system, not for a new fully permitted septic system. So I would not put a whole bunch of stuff onto, well, this could just walk through. In that context, I don't disagree with anything that Joe said, but in the meantime, the time value of money, which is what the gentleman brought up, we've got the money invested, interest rates are here, the market is there. It's probably not a bad idea for the select board between now and the end of May to determine if there is in fact a viable exit here, so as to capture funds that might well be better reinvested somewhere else. Because all of us who own residential real estate that might want to sell it are scared as to what's going to happen with interest rates, what's going to happen to the market, that companies are pulling people back in that came and moved out here with COVID. So it's a very uncertain market. So as the prudent fiduciaries who own this property,
So these are discussions, we've, like, that exact thing is what we've been talking about in the JCDC. And to inform that, we all landed on the best bet, whether we sell it, whether we develop it, whether we split off the house and barn, keep the rest, develop that, take some of that money, right? Like all of the things that we're good, all of the options, we decided in the JCDC that this is the next step, is to get
regardless of what happens, this is the next
answer
move.
these questions by doing these things, and then maybe he's right. Maybe, okay, fine, we just sell it. We do absolutely nothing. We don't do any, we add no affordable housing.
Wetlands may answer that question.
It might. So
That's why I'm wondering if that might just be the next, you got it set for May.
well, let me, I can just finish. Number one, that you've got the adjacent property that you have a lien on. You have this property and you've got 3 months of downtime. One suggestion I have is get this property out of the town's name. Put it into an LLC that's owned by the town. So whatever happens going forward.
You guys cool with giving the JCDC the 2 railroad circle? Yeah.
Well, it's a simple, it's for no value.
It's a corporation.
You go
They don't have
from,
to pay anything.
you go from an LLC certificate, you go from a deed in your name to an LLC certificate that says that that's on the deed. And those of us who own property that could potentially be sold or could end up in litigation, we want to encapsulate any of those risks, whatever they are, in an LLC and limit the access to cash flow and stuff. I will end my comments there. The other thing is, one of the reasons why.
Wait, I'm gonna end my comments there, and then you.
No, that's my comment on that subject. That the reason that this land is wet is because the town has not done its stormwater and infrastructure correctly. And I watched the replacement of the flood culvert You have a huge ravine on the other side of the road, so the surface water collection point is too high, so you are flooding your own property.
Yeah, I live, that's my gulch is on the side of my property. I'm concerned about that.
Well, but all the water ultimately ends up over there. All it does.
Okay, I'm doing a really bad job at my rules laid out.
I have a question for Joe.
Okay.
So let's go worst case scenario, that we come back and like, yeah, there's lots of wetlands back there, I don't know how much, there's lots of wetlands. Like, could we end up in a situation where we have an unbuildable lot?
It'll be tough to push it, so typically, this one adds a little different side to this, Peter, because there's already a house on it.
Right.
Okay, so basically wetlands, if you have a parcel with a naked parcel, nothing's on it.
Yeah.
Okay, and you want to put a building on it, and you have wetlands come out, and yes, there is quite a bit of wetlands on that. And the only way to get to your buildable area is to cross the wetlands. Typically, wetlands will give you a permit maintaining that you do the minimum amount of impact. Okay. One of the key points of that is when I say minimum amount of impact is how are you going to get to it? So the town of Jericho allows up to 4 units off a driveway. Okay, this plays into it. So if you have a parcel and you want to reach your back of it to put one house on, and they say, yes, I'll give you a permit. You can do a 14-foot wide road, 2-foot shoulders, minimum impact. Well, then you can also tell the wetland that, well, okay, if I can get 1, I can do 4. The road isn't getting wider, it's the same impact. The wetlands will basically approve that. Okay, because it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 4, it's the same road. Now, let's say you want to do 4 and you need a wider road, then they can squeeze you. So in this case, if you wanted to try to develop it and you had to cross a wetland or you had to have impact on a wetland, they will start to say or look at it is you already have a house on it. They can almost say, do you need another one? Okay, they can't deny you the primary structure, but they can deny you a secondary structure.
Another structure.
So the building is there, grandfathered in.
Yes.
Can we tear it down and build around that same spot?
Yeah, that's
a little questionable.
Yeah, that's questionable.
Yeah, because that, it supposedly has its own septic that may be okay.
I can help you out with that. I remember when Alan dug it, before he didn't have a heart attack. He literally dug his own, this way. He dug it by hand. And it basically runs like this.
First state, yeah. First state permit. If we do anything on that lot, we will have to design, you would have to design a replacement system for that. That system that's in that. Just design it. Just design it, you don't have to build it. That system stays in because it's clean slate. As long as it's function. You don't have to touch it. You have it checked. Well, again, a failed system is you walk on site, you know it.
Right. Alan was meticulous. He was kind of a scientist. He knew what he was doing when he put it in. He was going to have a second part to it for gray water. He never got to.
Yeah. So from your question, Peter, yes, there is a possibility that wetlands could come back negative and basically shut it. But barn drivers aren't new at this. If you typically find soils that are conducive to wastewater, you may have wetlands, but you still have upland.
A way to make it work.
Yeah, you have upland.
So based on this, and I appreciate this discussion, I definitely learned more than I should have because this is kind of my agenda item. Do you think it just makes sense to ask the select board again after we get the results from the wastewater? If there's nothing, I guess I was imagining there were things we could do in parallel, but it doesn't sound like there are.
Until honestly, and this we tell on our clients, based upon the housing need and having municipal water at that road, okay, you would be neglectful not to at least expend the funds to look at the wetlands.
Right. We're doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing that for sure.
If they come back favorable, yes, I do think with the need for housing that this is a viable spot.
But what do we need, but for ten, I think your question about like what has to happen tonight,
Yeah, so I guess,
we need to approve money for wetlands at least, right?
no, we're already doing that.
Well,
I already asked you, that's like
that was
$800.
$800.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
So should we just hold
as far
off?
as-
Should we just pause
That- That's
now,
what I'm
Joe?
suggesting. I
Should
think
we
maybe
pause
we hold
until-
off.
I would agree. It wouldn't make much sense to allocate any money when
I
you
don't
know
know.
where it's going.
Okay.
Or if we can use it.
Okay, last comment.
As a developer, and since I'm a citizen and a taxpayer, I feel an ownership interest in this property. If you truly want to develop the property, do not try to do the septic system on that property and don't waste your money. You own something on our behalf that nobody else has. You have a right of way. And you can go down that road and find highly suitable septic capacity, and you buy an easement for a lot less than $80,000 for a pre-treatment system.
Would
And
you be
you
willing
put the
to come
septic, I've
to?
already sent it to you in writing a long time ago.
Yeah, but I don't,
That's all right.
sometimes your emails
So-
can be a little tough to
I
follow.
disagree. I've walked property and there's a gully. You don't just, there's a right of way where the green is. And then after that, it drops off.
No, I'm talking about, I would run a pressure sewer line, which I built a lot of down the road right of way
Oh, I see.
until I came to a highly suitable area. For example, the Strang Farm has got a high bluff that looks to me like it has a sand bank.
So I think these ideas are great to bring to the JCDC,
JCDC.
and then we can bat them around. So yeah, next one is 3 weeks from tonight. Come on.
Maybe-
One last thing is, Joe, I have always like, oh, Railroad Circle, spent money, you gotta figure it out, like, I feel like, okay, now I have my head around where the whole thing is at, so thank you for sort of laying the whole thing out.
No problem.
Yeah, Joe's been a great
Makes a
addition
lot
to
of
the JCDC,
Yeah,
for especially people like me who I'm like, what? I sound like Phil. I'm like, I don't know what permit is what. Permit what? You know, and so
Well,
having him there, he can walk us through. It's
In
really
respect
helpful.
too, Chris Flynn is, again, Chris Flynn, I talked about this quite a bit today, again, just to push some ideas around and so on. So it's not just me, it's the company I work for too, but Chris has been good.
Okay,
All right,
well, thanks for that update.
Thank you.
No action taken.
All right, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Select-board updates. Let's start with Linda. No update from Linda? Catherine?
I just have a quick, the committee of the RPC met last night, and, of course, there's still concerns about what's happening at the federal level. One of the major grants, they
I gotta shake
Still-
the big weight.
have on pause because they're gonna get, $4 or $500,000.
Too.
But what the, one of the questions I asked, the AOT representative, that he was saying right now, because what they're trying to do is just focus on what the law says. I mean, there's so many, he said, so many executive orders that nobody knows what's gonna happen with those. So he said, we're just sticking to the, what is law and being conservative. And that's, that's where the, essentially V-Trans is.
Okay.
So hopefully, and as he said, that, because it's a legislative process, they still think that they might get the transportation. It all depends on whether they fund the budget or not, I guess, at the federal level.
Mhm.
Yeah. But that's the big takeaway right now. And we had a presentation on, they're gonna start the breakout process for municipalities in terms of, the housing numbers. They're working on the maps, and there's gonna be another meeting on that, and then they're working on how to break out the numbers and whether it's still with the algorithm they created still makes sense for the housing numbers that the state has sent down to Chittenden County and what they're gonna do for each community. And all these things are gonna be happening in April, May kind of stuff. And he said, people will be shocked Because he said the high number, you know, he doesn't see how it possibly could be met. But they're hoping that the low to medium number by 2030 maybe could possibly be met.
Do you know what those numbers are?
They haven't broken them out yet.
But the county number?
County number, the low number, is 1,200 for, the immediate number. And over, I don't have the 50 number in front of me, or the 20, the other 2030, but there are 3 sets of numbers. But it's good, it's big numbers. Because, as I said, you know, from the last meeting, 1,200 for Chittenden County is essentially the number of homes that was built in the entire state.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions for Paula that there's no, I mean, I have zero expectation of any answer to any of these things.
Try me, we'll see.
Have we talked to Underhill at all about wastewater and if they're interested in being a part of what may be happening or what we're looking into at Riverside?
I know that Paula and Chris Shaheen have been in communication, like they had a meeting.
With Underhill people?
Yes, with the Underhill people.
I don't know that, like what?
I think I recall them saying there was not a strong amount of interest from Underhill.
Oh, and the other thing, which is well, maybe a top, I don't know where it fits, but that the $30,000.
Where do we put it?
Yeah, what do you do with it?
I thought part of the motion was they were gonna provide us with something, right? They were looking into something and they were gonna present us with here's based, I thought they would talk to, I know Catherine talked about the study that we did, but they talked about some study, you know what?
They were telling us to do a study, I thought.
No,
They
they've
were
done
gonna do their
one.
own study, but we
Yeah.
already did one, so we just need to actually access what the report says.
You're talking about the Jericho Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have data, we received data
Right.
from traffic counts and speed counts that CCRPC collected last year.
And then we're
And-
gonna write a report.
Right, so we have like all these dozens of sheets that have numbers on them that are kind of hard to really analyze. And so we're waiting for the regional planning to follow up with a report that will help us make sense of those numbers and interpret them and have some recommendations.
And then because that 30,000 people were concerned about, wait a minute, this is just Jericho Center, the motion ended up being, it's going to be used throughout the community, not just Jericho Center.
Yeah, and so also included in the traffic count study was Skunk Hollow Road. So there will be data for both Skunk Hollow and Jericho Center that was collected last year. In that report that we'll get from
And why
regional planning.
did the select board identify those 2 roads as, or those 2 areas as where we wanted data from? Like, why did that data get collected?
The data got collected because, one, there was just the amount of,
I mean, in those 2 places specifically, why was it collected?
I think because the, noise, the activity.
The feedback from the
Feedback.
residents.
Citizens complaint.
Yeah, like my memory is that all these studies were requested while John was still here, and my recollection is that John was getting requests from residents specific to those 2
Yeah,
locations.
because people, I always feel like if they're speeding through Jericho Center, but it didn't look like there was that much, but it's.
I look at the data, there isn't that
No,
much.
it was the perception, because it looks like they're going fast when you're standing or looking down on it and stuff.
Mhm.
Typically for Skunk Hollow, it's because, once it was paved, we did one traffic study to see what having it paved did. And what it did is just smooth out the numbers. It didn't increase it where it was already paved. It just smoothed out where it was dirt, that it became the same as the rest of the road. And so this is a follow-up to see if anything has changed over time on Skunk Hollow, basically.
So we'll have to just, once we get those studies back, once we get the reports back, we'll figure out what
Right, and you have, essentially from July 1 of 2025 through June 30th of 2026 to spend it.
Mhm.
Nothing can be spent until July 1 anyway. So,
And I'm expecting to get the report by the end of March,
oh, good.
so it should be soon.
Yeah, they're struggling right now. There's so much work. And there's been a lot of, December's vacations and a lot of, all kinds of other reasons, because they were talking about their own issues.
You mean the regional planning staff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I had, Eric.
I really don't have much, but I met with Susan and Chris Shaheen yesterday to talk about another joint select board planning commission meeting. And we're gonna do that. I think you should have gotten to do it before.
Oh, yeah, I haven't looked at it.
While
Yeah.
we were discussing that, this is just to put something out there to start thinking about. I hate throwing out a complaint with no solution. I literally have zero solution. As we were looking to figure out when we could do that, it dawned on me, like an epiphany. The availability of this conference room slows down progress in Jericho. Like, right, like we're like, we want to do it soon. It really needs to be this month. We don't.
Wait, maybe 4 weeks away.
It's like 4 weeks out. And part of that was we really wanted to wait for Paula, so it was okay. But I'm wondering, I don't like, just in brainstorming, I'm just really just asking people to think, like maybe we could, for some of the smaller committees, maybe we could get another room. So, because, if you start, like if everything gets pushed out a couple weeks, boy, that could explain a lot of the, we could move a lot faster. You don't want something like that delaying something by a month when the process is already so slow to do things in town government. That was all. Just I don't know what the solution is, but
Use the community center, which is awful big but they do have the back room.
yeah, I thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, other committees have used that over time.
I've heard the Deborah Rawson Library has a meeting room. I haven't been in it, so I don't know how big it is.
They have a closed off room with a big, it's like a conference room table.
It's
So
really.
yeah, maybe encouraging
bare
those
bones.
types of things, like
It's really bare bones, the conference room for River Rosa, but it is there.
yeah.
I've had.
Is it available in the evenings?
Or
Or would it have to be daytime? It is.
They're open till
Tuesdays and Thursdays are open at 8.
Okay.
You technically can't use the fireplace room, which is the nicer one to use, because that's still part of the main library, and the library itself is open at 8.
But I have a feeling that the room that
Yeah,
Council's talking about has an exterior door. Has
It
a
does.
door from the in and out from the outside. And I think they can lock the other door, so if you get in, I'm making this up in my head. If you
Yeah.
get in while they're open,
Right.
they can lock you out of the library, you can exit.
Right.
And maybe you can even get in, if the town got permission, we'd get a key, and we could use that for committees whenever we need, whenever
yeah,
we
I
want.
mean, because a
With their
lot of,
availability.
a lot of like Starbird's, I think HOA use that, because Lucy Wilcox talked about that. But there are other, organizations in town use that,
Yeah.
exterior door.
That's a good point, Eric.
Yeah, it's like, wow, I bet we delay a lot of things, because there's a lot going on, which is fantastic. We have so
Right.
many committees that meet a lot,
Right.
and
But we only have
there's
one
not a lot of
doing
free.
it. Right. We'll do 'em
Although
together.
Friday afternoons, or every single Friday
We're
afternoon.
open.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Did you guys consider meeting on Zoom, or did you want to be like in a room together?
We want to be in a room together
Yeah.
for this one, but yeah. Anyway, that was just a thought, just to brainstorm a little
But
bit.
if it's a really small committee, that has no legislative authority, any of those committees can meet by Zoom,
Can meet
period.
by Zoom or can meet over there, totally agree, yeah,
In fact, that's the open meeting law, is they don't have to be hybrid.
right. Approved warrants, looks like we've done, approved minutes of 2/20/25.
I have a couple, things.
Whole thing is that-
One is just very technical. And that's on line 113. That's because we get extra room, it doesn't need to be there. It says because on wait,
Oh, yeah, I had that too.
so we get rid of the on. But the other one is, part of what I said was not quite right when it came to this, line 2, 224. Or I said it's the Public Participation and Outreach Committee, rather than equity. Public participation, outreach, and engagement is what their charge is. What they've officially now calling themselves is the Community Engagement Advisory Committee, or CEAC.
Community engagement, what? Advisory?
Committee.
Engagement
that.
advisory.
It's called SEEK.
Okay.
So that, clears up any confusion. That's what I have. And
I had a question just on 91. We collected this amount of money for the millage. The voters have approved. What does that mean?
The millage.
millage is technically. Millage is really for just the smaller number, but millage is the amount of like 0.03 cents on the tax code on your taxes per, and that's what goes to the conservation, fund or the overhead bill fund. Those are millages, but the total for all the outside things were $848,802. Most of which was the fire department. And then the Deborah Rawson. The other two funds were fairly small.
So it just means the money that gets partitioned off to Deborah Ross and Underhill and others.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, the other question I had was on line 52 on the first page. This is more of a thing for Eric and Catherine. We, line 51, we increased the amount budgeted for roads from 100,000 budgeted in FY25 to 295, which is similar to previous budgets. I was thinking that should say more explicitly, like, which is reinstating something, but I don't know.
Yeah, technically it
As
is.
opposed to like, oh, it's kind of similar to previous years, like, no, that this is putting back in money that's been budgeted every year.
Right.
But
Which
maybe,
is what previous budgets were, maybe, something like that.
yeah, which is the amount, which is the amount in previous budgets.
Right,
Okay.
That's a good idea.
that's a better.
Would it be more accurate to also say that's for paving, not just roads, or is it really for any road work,
It's all over.
It's all road work.
not just paving?
It's not just.
Okay,
We used to split out paving versus gravel roads.
okay.
The gravel roads fell by the wayside, and just kind of got mushed in.
Do you have any executive discussion?
I don't know if one,
I do want to make a comment, now I forgot what it was.
Was it the thing Jessica had sent you?
it does say possible, there's a possible legal one. You want to practice the,
I looked it up. Doesn't be exactly those words.
no, but what we
does
did
help.
is we worked with our attorney.
Oh, so it is.
Because you have to have a finding, and so this is, what those words that I say are our finding. And that's just from Cleveland, you're right.
What does that mean in finding?
I think finding is the word to use, right? Like I can't just go into an executive session because I want to talk to Peter.
We can talk off the record,
Fine,
not
right?
get caught.
You have to have a
Reasonable.
reason, and so the reason is because premature disclosure of this information would be detrimental to parties involved. That's our finding.
None of the parties involved.
Doesn't matter.
Whatever we're
Like,
talking
so we're talking
about.
about personnel, so that's what you
Personnel
say,
or-
personnel or legal, right? Like, talking about a legal document.
Oh,
And
I
the
thought,
person on the other
Contract,
side of the legal document hears us say something in public session, they're gonna know, right? So like it's.
parties involved in whatever we're talking about.
In whatever that
I thought it
thing
was like. It was a contentious issue. It doesn't matter, right? I get it. I don't know how to say it. Why don't you say it, Catherine, or. And then I'll write it down and get it down. I'll get it. I'll have it.
And
I'll
I'll
have it
email it
memorized.
to you today,
I'll
so
have
you
it
can have
memorized.
just that.
I make a motion to go into executive session, premature disclosure which may be detrimental to the person involved for personnel and legal.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everybody. Thank
Good
you for
night.
your participation.
And let's wait till it all goes away.